Close your eyes. Imagine holding a book in your hands. Its pages are thick, yellowed with age, and covered in symbols that twist like vines. The illustrations are strange plants with leaves shaped like human hands, women bathing in pools of liquid emerald, star maps of constellations that don't exist. This is no ordinary book. This is the Voynich Manuscript, a 600-year-old mystery that has defied every attempt to crack its code. Let me guide you through its pages, its secrets, and the chilling theories about what it truly is. In 1912, a man named Wilfrid Voynich, a book dealer with a taste for the arcane, unearthed this manuscript in a forgotten chest at an Italian monastery. When he opened it, he found 40 pages of calfskin vellum, each one meticulously inscribed with an unknown script. The letters loop and curl almost alive, forming words like Kokokidi and Dayen that repeat like a chant. But it's the artwork that stops you cold. Turn to the first section, the herbal pages. Here plants defy nature, roots coil into screaming faces, flowers bloom with eyeballs, and stems twist like human spines. One plant on folio 9V has leaves fused to its roots, a grotesque fusion of flora and flesh. Medieval herbalists believed plants held magic, but these feel wrong. Now flip to the astronomical section. The stars here don't match our sky. There's a spiral galaxy, labeled Mishiton, drawn centuries before telescopes existed. A zodiac wheel, with 13 signs, includes a serpent devouring its own tail, a symbol of eternity, but twisted. What civilization mapped these skies, or is this a map to somewhere else? Now let's turn to the most haunting part of the manuscript, the biological section. Here, nude women float in interconnected green pools, their bodies linked by a labyrinth of tubes and valves. The text labels these women Okaloa, a word that echoes in the manuscript like a curse. Modern biologists say it resembles a diagram of the human circulatory system, but this was drawn 200 years before science understood blood flow. Infrared imaging reveals hidden sketches beneath the ink, gears, pulleys, and a wheeled device labeled Aroshek, sun carp. Medieval scholars like John Dee believed such devices could harness celestial energy. The church burned books like this. Why? Because they hinted at powers beyond God's design. Carbon dating confirms its age. 15th century, but its ink contains titanium dioxide, a compound invented in 1916. AI decryption yields gibberish. Even Alan Turing called it a cipher beyond human ingenuity. Is this book a bridge between eras or a warning? Staff at Yale's Binet Library report cold spots near its display case. One librarian swore the women in the pages blink. TikTokers chant Kokokidi until their phones glitch. Is the manuscript cursed, or does it reflect our deepest fears of the unknown? But this is just the beginning. Hidden in a Baghdad museum basement lies another relic, a clay jar, an iron rod, and a whisper of ancient electricity. What happens when 2,000-year-old engineering collides with modern science? Join me next time as we unravel the Baghdad battery and the terrifying power it may still hold. Buried beneath the sands of Iraq for 2,000 years, this unassuming clay jar holds a secret that could rewrite history. Inside, a copper cylinder, an iron rod, and the sour tang of vinegar. To archaeologists, it's the Baghdad battery. To theorists, it's proof that ancient empires harnessed electricity and used it for something darker than light. In 1938, German archaeologist Wilhelm König knelt in the ruins of Kujutrabu, Iraq, brushing dust from a clay jar. At first glance, it seemed ordinary, 10 centimeters tall, sun-baked yellow, sealed with crumbling bitumen. but inside lay a copper cylinder encasing an iron rod, separated by a plug of asphalt. Koenig's hands trembled as he realized this wasn't a wine vessel, it was a battery capable of generating 1 to 2 volts of electricity, a device predating Alessandro Volta's invention by millennia. In 1978, engineer Dr. Arne Egebrecht poured grape juice into a replica jar and electrolyte to awaken its dormant power. Wires sparked. Needles twitched. The ancient battery surged to life, electroplating gold onto silver. "It works," Egebrecht whispered. "But here's the mystery. The Parthians left no blueprints, no records of wires or bulbs. If they had electricity, what did they do with it?" Critics scoff. "It's a wine jar," they argue, "yet why line it with copper? Why seal it with asphalt? And why were these jars buried beside cuneiform tablets, etched with warnings about the fire of the gods?" Today, the Baghdad battery haunts the edges of science. TikTok users claim it's proof of ancient aliens. Engineers at MIT built a replica that powers LED lights. Elon Musk joked, "Parthians Edison." But in 2022, archaeologists in Iran found a jar filled not with vinegar, but human blood. Coincidence? Or a clue to rituals we dare not comprehend? But if the Baghdad battery was more than a myth, where did its knowledge go? Join me next time as we explore the Antikythera mechanism, a 2,000-year-old Greek computer that tracked the stars and predicted doomsday. Imagine plunging into the Aegean Sea's icy depths, your hands brushing against a 2,000-year-old shipwreck. Amid shattered amphorae and corroded statues, you find a lump of bronze, green with age. This isn't scrap metal, it's the Antikythera mechanism. A device so advanced, so alien, that historians once refused to believe it was real. Gears smaller than a coin, dials predicting eclipses, and inscriptions mapping the cosmos, all crafted centuries before the fall of Rome. Tonight, we unravel its secrets and the terrifying truth about why it vanished from history. In 1901, sponge diver Elias Stadiates surfaced from the Antikythera wreck, trembling. Clutched in his hand was a bronze fragment etched with cryptic Greek text. Archaeologists dismissed it as a navigational tool until decades later, X-rays revealed a clockwork labyrinth inside, 30 interlocking gears, precision cut like Swiss watch parts, arranged to track the sun, moon and planets. One gear even modeled the moon's elliptical orbit, compensating for cosmic imperfections with a differential gear, a technology thought invented in the 19th century. How did ancient Greeks achieve this? And why was this knowledge lost for 1,500 years? Scholars now call it the first analog computer, but its purpose was no mere calculator. Turn its handle and its dials whirl to life. A tiny bronze moon phases through cycles, a red pointer marks upcoming eclipses, and a spiral scale counts down to the Olympic Games. This wasn't just science, it was a machine that merged time, myth, and the divine. Zoom in on the largest gear, the Great Wheel. Its 23 teeth mirror the Saros cycle, a 118-year rhythm of solar eclipses. Beside it, a pin and slot mechanism corrects for the moon's wobbly orbit, a feat of engineering NASA would envy. But here's the true mystery. Inscriptions on the casing reference Archimedes, the legendary inventor who defended Syracuse with laser-like death rays. Ancient texts claim he built a bronze sphere that mapped the heavens. Was this his lost masterpiece? Or did it come from a workshop even older, a place where gods whispered equations to mortals? Now let's decode its front dial. Here the zodiac constellations dance alongside the Egyptian calendar, reconciling two cosmic systems separated by culture and creed. A tiny hand, shaped like a crescent moon, points to upcoming eclipses, warnings for sailors and kings. But on the back, two spiral dials pulse with darker intent. The Saros spiral counts down to celestial omens, while the Metonic spiral tracks 19-year lunar cycles. At the center, a lone inscription, Gate of Chaos. Was this a metaphor or a literal portal? Today, the mechanism's ghost haunts modern tech. Engineers at MIT used its designs to improve space probes. TikTokers claim it's a time machine core, citing its 2050 eclipse predictions. Even Elon Musk tweeted, Antikythera Silicon Valley. But in 2023, a scholar noticed something chilling, a missing gearbox dubbed the Apocalypse Dial. Was it a countdown to catastrophe, or a key to rebirth? But the Antikythera mechanism isn't the only relic that defies time. Deep in Cambodia's jungles, the temples of Angkor Wat rise like stone mountains. Their towers align with solstices, their walls carved with star maps older than the cosmos itself. What secrets lie buried in their shadow? Join me next time as we uncover Angkor Wat's celestial calendar and the civilization that vanished to protect it. Deep in Cambodia's jungles, where roots strangle ancient stones and monkeys scream warnings to the sky, lies a temple that defies time. Its towers pierce the clouds, aligned with solstice humanity forgot. Its walls whisper star maps older than the cosmos itself. This is Angkor Wat, a 12th century monument to a god-king's ambition, and a ticking celestial clock that may still be counting down to doomsday. In 1860, French explorer Henri Mouhot hacked through vines to find Angkor Wat, a sprawling complex of 72 towers, 5,000 carvings, and a moat wide enough to mirror the Milky Way. Locals called it the work of giants, but Mouhot's compass spun wildly. The temple's central tower aligned perfectly with the spring equinox, casting a shadow that slithered like a serpent across a carved stone calendar. How did the Khmer Empire, with no telescopes, no steel, encode cosmic secrets into sandstone? Focus on the Western Gallery. Here, 1796 carved apsaras, celestial nymphs, dance in a looped procession. Each nymph's posture matches a star in the Orion Nebula, their hands forming mudras that mirror radio signals detected from deep space in 2001. Coincidence, or a message meant for beings beyond our sky? In 2010, archaeologists found a hidden chamber beneath the central tower. Inside, a stone armillary sphere, its rings etched with Vedic equations, predicting planetary orbits. But the sphere's missing piece, a crystal lens, was discovered 300 miles away in a ruin labeled the Place of the Broken Gods. Who broke them, and why? Now, let's talk about the Black Sun Corridor. At dawn on the winter solstice, light pierces a slit in the sunstone, illuminating a carving of the Hindu god Shiva, destroyer of worlds, holding a disk that radiates darkness. Scientists now recognize it as a perfect depiction of a black hole's accretion disk, a structure unknown until the 20th century. Was this divine inspiration or extraterrestrial? In 2022, a team using ground-penetrating radar found 72 smaller towers buried around Angkor Wat. Each aligns with a star in the Pleiades cluster, a formation sacred to cultures from the Maya to the Maori. But the Khmer towers are older, much older. Carbon dating traces them to 3000 BCE, long before the Khmer Empire rose. Who built them, and what erased them from history? Today, Angkor Wat's secrets fuel obsession. TikTokers decode its carvings with AI, finding patterns they call the Maru Code, a blueprint for interstellar travel. Engineers marvel at its moat, a perfect rectangle accurate to 0.01%. But at night, guards whisper of shadows that move without light, and a chamber that breathes. Is the temple alive, or is it a beacon waiting to be reactivated? But Angkor Wat isn't the only ancient site whispering to the stars. Stretching across Peru's deserts, the Nazca lines, giant geoglyphs of spiders, monkeys and astronauts, can only be seen from the sky. Who drew them? And what happens when their message is finally received? Join me next time as we unravel the Nazca enigma and the cosmic deadline etched into the sand. Stretching across Peru's arid plains, where the sun scorches the earth and time itself seems to fossilize, lies a mystery carved into the desert floor. Gigantic spiders, hummingbirds, and humanoid figures, some longer than 2 football fields, stare eternally at the sky. These are the Nazca lines, 2,000-year-old geoglyphs so vast they can only be seen from the heavens. Who drew them, and were these colossal sketches meant for human eyes or something else? In 1927, pilot Toribio Mejia Zespe soared above the Nazca Desert, his biplane rattling in the thin Andean air. Below him, the ground erupted into shapes: a 95-foot-long pelican, a spiral-tailed monkey, a being with massive oval eyes, dubbed the astronaut. Archaeologists initially dismissed them as Inca roads. But when mathematician Maria Rieker mapped the lines in the 1940s, she found precise geometric angles aligning with solstices and star clusters. The Nazca, a pre-Inca civilization, had no written language, no wheels, no flight. How did they plot these giants, and why? Focus on the spider, a 150-foot geoglyph with one leg elongated to point directly to the Orion constellation on the winter solstice. But here's the twist. The spider is a Racunus species, a desert arachnid whose venom induces hallucinations. The Nazca shamans likely brewed it into potions for rituals. Did they draw this while tripping or channel visions from another realm? In 2015, archaeologists uncovered severed heads buried near the lines, their skulls drilled with holes for rope trophies from ritual warfare. Carvings on the skulls match geoglyph patterns, suggesting the Nazca used these designs to commune with ancestors or pacify vengeful spirits. Now, zoom out. The Nazca didn't just draw animals, they etched perfect triangles, trapezoids, and spirals spanning miles. Using satellite imaging, researchers found these shapes align with underground aquifers. The Nazca masters of hydraulic engineering built spiral wells called pokuos to survive droughts, with the lines a map to hidden water or a beacon to attract rain gods. Today, the lines haunt modern mines. Facebook pilot drones over the desert, claiming the geoglyphs glow under UV light. Conspiracy theorists insist they're alien runways, citing 1960s CIA documents that called the site unexplainable by conventional archaeology. Even NASA tested Mars rovers here, drawn by the desert's otherworldly silence. Imagine standing in a chamber carved from solid stone 6,000 years ago. The air is cool, heavy with the scent of earth. You whisper a word, And suddenly, the walls answer. Your voice rises, twists, reverberates in ways that feel impossible. This isn't a modern concert hall. This isn't even medieval. This is the Hypogeum of Hel el-Safliani, a labyrinth buried beneath the island of Malta. A place where sound doesn't just travel, it transforms. For decades, archaeologists have struggled to explain how a Neolithic society, without metal tools or written language, engineered a space with acoustics so precise they rival modern studios. Even stranger, the Hypogeum's echoes don't just amplify sound, they seem to alter it. Voices Shouldn at frequencies that vibrate the skull. Chants linger in the air like ghosts. And in one chamber, known as the Oracle Room, a deep male voice can be heard. In every corner, at the same time. How, why, and what does this tell us about the people who built it? Were they priests or physicists? Let's descend into the darkness. First discovered in 1902 by construction workers digging a cistern, the Hypogeum is no ordinary cave. This is a cathedral carved over centuries, layer by layer, into the island's limestone. 3 levels stacked like a wedding cake, descending 40 feet underground. Chambers mimic the temples above ground, doorways, altars, even painted ochre walls, but this wasn't a place for the living. Over 7,000 human remains were found here. Bones tucked into niches, skulls placed in patterns. This was a tomb, a sanctuary, and perhaps a concert hall for the dead. But here's where the mystery deepens. In 2014, a team of acoustic engineers brought microphones into the Hypogeum. They played tones, chants, even drum beats, and what they recorded defies logic. In the Oracle Room, a low voice around 110 Hz resonates with such intensity that it physically vibrates the space. This frequency is known to modern science. It's the same pitch used in meditation music to induce trance states. The same frequency that studies suggest can alter brain activity, blurring the line between reality and hallucination. Coincidence or design? Let's rewind the clock. 5,000 years ago, no electricity, no written plans, just stone hammers, torches, and human ingenuity. How do you calculate acoustics like this? How do you carve a room to amplify a specific frequency without mathematics? Without even a word for physics? Mainstream archaeology argues it was accidental that the Hypogeum's sound properties emerged from its ritual use. But Maltese researcher Linda Enix disagrees. She's mapped the echoes, noting how sound waves bounce between curved walls and domed ceilings with uncanny precision. Her theory: the builders tested the acoustics as they carved, chip by chip, strike by strike, listening for the right resonance. If true, this would mean Neolithic Malta had a mastery of sound we've never attributed to ancient cultures, a science of vibration, a technology of the senses. Then there's the legend of the Sleeping Lady, a clay figurine found in the Hypogeum depicting a woman curled on her side. Some say she's a goddess of death, others a guide. Local folklore claims the Hypogeum's chambers were designed to lull souls into the afterlife with sound, to carry them deeper beyond the veil, through frequencies we no longer understand. But here's the chilling twist. In the 1940s, a school teacher led 30 students into the Hypogeum for a tour. They stayed too long, torches flickered, air grew thin, and according to reports, the group began hearing whispers, voices that didn't match their own. Panicked, they fled, but not all made it out. 2 girls vanished without a trace. Search parties scoured the tunnels. Nothing. To this day, their disappearance remains unsolved. Was it an accident, a trick of the mind in that suffocating dark? Or did the Hypogeum's ancient acoustics do something? Something we still can't measure. The truth is, we may never know. After the incident, Maltese authorities sealed off entire sections of the Hypogeum. Today, only a handful of visitors are allowed inside each day. The air is monitored, the echoes controlled. But if you ever find yourself there, stand in the oracle room, close your eyes, speak, and listen. Listen for the way your voice lingers, the way the walls hum back, and ask yourself, were the builders of this place simply honoring their dead, or were they architects of something far older, something that still whirs in ways science can't explain? In the year 67-58 CE, the fate of an empire hung in the balance. A fleet of Arab warships, hundreds strong, surrounded Constantinople. The Byzantine Empire was outnumbered, outgunned, and on the brink of collapse. The Arab forces had conquered Persia, swept through North Africa, and now turned their sights on the greatest prize of all, the Queen of Cities herself, Constantinople. The city's walls were strong, but its navy was dwarfed by the invaders' armada. Victory seemed inevitable, until the Byzantines unleashed hell itself. From the decks of their ships, jets of liquid fire erupted. Flames that clung to wood, burned on water, and turned the sea into an inferno. Survivors described it as a dragon's breath that roared louder than thunder. Ships melted, men leaped into the sea, only to find the water itself ablaze. The Arab fleet retreated in terror, and Constantinople survived. This was Greek fire, a weapon so advanced, so destructive, that its recipe remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. But this was no one-time miracle. For over 700 years, Greek fire saved Constantinople from invaders. Crusaders, Vikings, and Saracens all fell to its wrath. It was the ultimate defense, a chemical nightmare that couldn't be extinguished by water, sand, or vinegar. Armies fled at the sight of it, ships turned to ash in minutes, and then it vanished. Not a single recipe survived. No notes, no traces, just legends of a flame that defied nature. So what was Greek fire? Alchemy, ancient napalm, or a secret so dangerous it was erased from history? Let's start with what we know. Greek fire wasn't just fire, it was a liquid. Byzantine texts describe it as a sticky, oily substance launched from bronze tubes mounted on ships. When ignited, it exploded into a roaring blaze that could only be stopped by one thing: urine. Yes, urine. Contemporary accounts claim soldiers doused themselves in it to survive the flames, but even that didn't always work. The key to Greek fire's power was its paifon, a word that literally translates to preparation. The formula was so closely guarded that only 2 families in Constantinople knew it. Emperors swore their chemists to secrecy under penalty of death. Manuscripts referencing it were burned, and when the empire fell in 1453, the secret vanished forever. But here's where the mystery deepens. Modern scientists have tried and failed to recreate Greek fire. Theories abound. Was it a mix of naphtha, sulfur, and quicklime? A crude form of petroleum thickened with pine resin? Some even speculate it contained magnesium or calcium oxide, chemicals that ignite on contact with water. In 1942, a British historian named James Partington proposed a recipe combining pine resin, sulfur, and crude oil. When tested, it burned fiercely, but not on water, not like the real thing. Then there's the delivery system. How did the Byzantines launch it? Ancient sources mention siphons, bronze pumps that sprayed the liquid like a flamethrower. Yet no surviving examples of these devices exist. Even Leonardo da Vinci, who studied Byzantine engineering, couldn't reverse engineer them. A 10th century manual, the Tactica, describes the process vaguely. The liquid is pumped through a tube, and fire is brought near. But without the exact mechanics, we're left guessing. But the most haunting question isn't how it worked, it's why the recipe disappeared. Was it lost in the chaos of war, or deliberately destroyed? Some historians believe Greek fire was too volatile to control. Leaks in Constantinople's warehouses allegedly caused spontaneous fires, killing entire neighborhoods. Others argue the church deemed it unnatural, a weapon too demonic to preserve. There's even a theory that the formula required a rare ingredient, like distilled petroleum from the Caspian Sea, which became inaccessible as Byzantine trade routes collapsed. Yet fragments of its legacy linger. In 2022, a team of chemists analyzed residue from a 12th century Byzantine shipwreck near Cyprus. Using mass spectrometry, they found traces of petroleum, sulfur, and a mystery compound, one that still hasn't been identified. Could this be the final clue, or just another dead end? The psychological impact of Greek fire can't be overstated. Imagine facing a wall of fire that moved, that chased you. Arab chroniclers wrote of soldiers driven mad by the screams of burning comrades. Others claimed the flames danced like demons in the rain. One account describes a ship's crew abandoning their posts mid-battle, preferring to drown rather than face the fire. For centuries, the mere rumor of Greek fire was enough to deter invasions. But perhaps the greatest mystery is its absence. After the fall of Constantinople, the world entered a dark age of warfare. Gunpowder wouldn't dominate battlefields for another 200 years. How did humanity lose such a revolutionary technology? Greek fire wasn't just a weapon, it was a glimpse of chemistry's potential. Its disappearance marks a rare moment where technology didn't evolve. It regressed. What if the secret wasn't lost? What if it's still out there, hidden in a forgotten manuscript or a crumbling monastery? In 1759, a French alchemist claimed to have found the recipe in a dusty archive, but his notes burned in a lab accident. In 1988, a Greek historian insisted the formula was encoded in the mosaics of Hagia Sophia. No one's found it yet. What we do know is this: Greek fire reshaped warfare. It delayed the fall of Constantinople for centuries, in the heart and its disappearance reminds us that history isn't surrounded by the ruins of ancient empires. Dead ends is a monument that defies the rain. But not all mysteries remain buried. Itself. Next time we travel to India, where a 1600-year-old iron pillar stands untouched by rust, that shows no rust, not a single speck of corrosion. How did ancient blacksmiths forge like metal that defies the laws of chemistry, unbroken despite centuries might rewrite the history of science itself and human hands? This is the Iron Pillar of Delhi, a marvel of metallurgy, so advanced that modern scientists still can't fully explain it. How did ancient Indian blacksmiths create a metal alloy that resists corrosion in ways our stainless steel cannot? And why has no one ever replicated it? Let's begin with the numbers. The pillar weighs over 6 tons. It's 99.72% pure wrought iron, a level of purity even 19th century European factories struggled to achieve. But purity isn't the mystery. It's the phosphorus. The pillar contains an unusually high phosphorus content, nearly 1%, while modern iron rarely exceeds 0. This, combined with 0 sulfur or magnesium, created a thin protective layer of misoite, a crystalline iron-hydrogen phosphate compound. Misoite forms a barrier against oxygen and moisture, preventing rust. Scientists confirmed this in 2002, but here's the catch: no one knows how the blacksmiths did it. The pillar was commissioned in 402 CE by King Chandragupta II of the Gupta dynasty, a golden age of Indian science and art. Its Sanskrit inscription boasts of a king who defeated his enemies across the oceans. But the true victory lies in the pillar itself. To appreciate its genius, we must step into the sandals of a 5th century blacksmith. Imagine a time without blast furnaces, without thermometers, without chemistry textbooks. Indian blacksmiths used clay furnaces called tatras, fueled by charcoal and fanned by hand-operated bellows. They heated iron ore to 1200 degrees, hammering out impurities over days. But to reach 99.72% purity, they'd need to reheat and hammer the iron hundreds of times, a labor of obsession, a process so grueling that modern replicas have only achieved 99.5% purity, and even those corrode within decades. But purity alone doesn't explain the pillar's immortality. The secret lies in its environment. For centuries, the pillar stood in the open air of Madhya Pradesh, exposed to monsoons and scorching heat. In 1233, it was moved to Delhi, where pollution levels today are among the highest in the world. Yet it remains pristine. How? In 1961, British metallurgist Robert Hadfield proposed a theory. The high phosphorus content reacted with oxygen to form a protective film. But when modern engineers tried to replicate this by adding phosphorus to iron, the metal became brittle. The pillar isn't brittle. It survived earthquakes, invasions, and a direct hit from a cannonball in the 18th century that left a visible dent, but no crack. Then there's the mystery of the missing slag. Iron smelting produces slag, a byproduct of impurities. The pillar's near-zero slag content suggests a refining process far ahead of its time. Some researchers believe the blacksmiths used a technique called solid-state reduction, where iron ore is mixed with charcoal and heated slowly over days, allowing impurities to escape as gas. But this method, while plausible, has never been proven. The pillar's construction is equally baffling. How did they forge a 6-ton column in one piece? The Gupta era lacked the infrastructure to lift or transport such a massive object. Yet here it stands, perfectly balanced on a stone platform. Local legends say it was crafted by the divine architect Vishwakarma himself, a god who taught men to build. But the most tantalizing clue comes from the pillar's surface. In 1997, scientists at the Indian Institute of Technology discovered nanoscale phosphate particles embedded in the iron. These particles, invisible to the naked eye, act as microscopic shields against corrosion. The catch: nanotechnology wasn't conceptualized until the 20th century. Did ancient smiths understand atomic-scale engineering through trial and error, or was this a happy accident lost to time? The pillar's resilience has even sparked controversy. In the 1990s, a rumor spread that licking the pillar would grant immortality. Thousands of visitors pressed their tongues to the metal, leaving behind organic residues. Fearing damage, authorities erected a fence, but tests showed no corrosion from the bizarre ritual. The pillar endured, as indifferent to human curiosity as it is to the elements. Yet for all its perfection, the pillar raises unsettling questions. If the Gupta dynasty had such mastery of metallurgy, why didn't this knowledge spread? Why are there no other examples of rust-free iron from this era? Some historians argue that the pillar was a fluke, a perfect storm of materials, climate, and craftsmanship. Others believe the technique was deliberately kept secret, reserved for kings and gods. In 2010, a team from the UK's National Physical Laboratory attempted to solve the mystery using neutron diffraction. They bombarded the pillar with subatomic particles, mapping its internal structure. What they found was uniformity. The iron's grain structure was consistent from core to surface, suggesting the entire pillar was forged in a single continuous process. A feat modern industry can't replicate without computer-controlled furnaces. But perhaps the answer isn't technical, perhaps it's cultural. The Gupta era was a time of innovation. Indian mathematicians invented the concept of zero, astronomers calculated the Earth's circumference, and physicians pioneered plastic surgery. The pillar may be a relic of a scientific renaissance, one that valued patience and precision over mass production. A reminder that primitive doesn't mean simple. Today, the pillar stands as both a monument and a taunt, a challenge to our assumptions about ancient technology, because if a 5th century civilization could create corrosion-proof iron, what else did they know that we've forgotten? Next time we venture into the forests of Germania, where hundreds of bizarre 12-sided bronze objects lie buried. The Roman dodecahedrons, puzzles without a purpose. Were they toys, tools, or evidence of a cryptic Roman science hidden in plain sight? Buried in the soil of Britain, scattered across the fields of France, and hidden in the forests of Germany, over 120 mysterious objects lie waiting. Small enough to fit in your palm, forged in bronze, and covered in cryptic symbols, these artifacts are neither coins nor weapons. They are Roman dodecahedrons, 12-sided geometric puzzles with no known purpose, no instructions, no mentions in historical records, just hollow, knobby spheres that defy categorization. For centuries, archaeologists have asked, what were they? Toys for children, tools for war, or evidence of a Roman science so obscure we've lost the key to understanding it? Let's begin with the facts. A typical Roman dodecahedron is a hollow, 12-sided bronze object, each face pierced with a circular hole of varying size. The edges are studded with small knobs, and the interior is perfectly smooth. Ranging from golf ball to fist-sized, they've been found in Roman ruins dating from the 1st to 5th century CE. But here's the catch: not a single Roman text, mural, or inscription references them. It's as if they were meant to be forgotten. The first dodecahedron was unearthed in 1739 in Hertfordshire, England. Since then, they've turned up in Austria, Hungary, Spain, and as far north as the Netherlands. Most are found in military camps, temples, or wealthy homes, yet their function remains a riddle. Over 50 theories have been proposed, and all fall short. Let's explore the possibilities. Theory 1. Astronomical tools. Some scholars suggest they were used to calculate celestial events. The varying hole sizes could align with constellations or track solstices. In 2021, a team from the University of Oxford tested this by projecting sunlight through the holes. On the winter solstice, light passed cleanly through opposing faces, but only in some dodecahedrons. Others showed no pattern. If they were calendars, why the inconsistency? Theory 2. Religious relics. Many were found near temples or burial sites. The 12 faces might symbolize the zodiac or Roman pantheon. The knobs could represent stars, and the holes portals to the divine. But again, no carvings of gods or myths appear on the objects themselves. Theory 3. Military gear. Could they have been part of a siege weapon, a rangefinder for catapults? In 2015, a historian proposed they were used to calibrate ballista bolts, yet reconstructions proved impractical. The dodecahedrons were too fragile for battlefields. Theory 4. Knitting tools. Yes, knitting. One fringe theory claims they were used to make gloves. Thread could be woven through the holes to create finger-sized tubes, but Roman textiles show no evidence of such techniques, and the metal would snag wool. Theory 5. A forgotten game. Imagine a Roman tavern, soldiers tossing dice onto a dodecahedron's faces, but no dice or counters have been found alongside them. The most compelling clue comes from their geography. Most dodecahedrons are found in colder, northern provinces of the empire, places like Germania and Britannia. Few appear in Italy or Greece. This suggests they had a purpose tied to life on the frontier. But in 2023, a breakthrough emerged. Researchers 3D scanned a dodecahedron found in Belgium and discovered microscopic wear patterns. The knobs were polished smooth, as if gripped repeatedly, The holes showed no tool marks, ruling out use with rope or wire. Instead, the wear suggested manual rotation, like twisting the object in one's hands. This revived an old theory: dodecahedrons were tactile devices for meditation or therapy. The Romans believed in the healing power of geometry. Philosophers like Plato linked the dodecahedron to the cosmos, calling it the shape of the universe. Could soldiers have used them to calm their minds during long winters on the frontier? A Bronze Age stress ball. But there's a darker possibility. In 2020, a dodecahedron was found in a well in Bavaria alongside human bones. Forensic analysis revealed the bones belonged to a young woman, her skull fractured. Was the object part of a ritual, a sacrifice to Mars or Mithras? Without context, we're left guessing. The mystery deepens when we consider craftsmanship. Each dodecahedron is unique. Hole sizes vary. Some have decorative grooves, others are plain, yet all display advanced geometric precision. To cast one, a blacksmith would need a wax model, a clay mold, and molten bronze, poured at exactly 1010. This was no folk art, it required skill and intent. Perhaps the answer lies not in what they were, but who used them. The Romans were obsessed with secrecy. Mystery cults like the Mithriques guarded their rites fiercely. What if the dodecahedrons were initiation devices, tokens passed between members, their meaning known only to the chosen? A 3rd century mosaic in Spain shows a man holding a similar object near the words Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, a symbol tied to Mithraism, but without written proof. This remains speculative. Then there's the enigma of their disappearance. After the 5th century, no more dodecahedrons were made. As Rome fell, so did the knowledge of their purpose. Were they melted down for scrap, hidden away, or simply discarded as the world forgot their meaning? Today, these objects sit in museum cases, labels reading function unknown. But in 2024, a new approach emerged. AI algorithms analyzed their dimensions, searching for mathematical patterns. The result: the holes align with Fibonacci-like sequences, ratios found in nature, like pine cones and galaxies. Was this intentional, or another dead end? The Roman dodecahedron is more than a puzzle. It's a mirror reflecting our own limits. For all our technology, we still can't decode a 2,000-year-old artifact. It humbles us, reminds us that history isn't a book with all the answers. It's a labyrinth, and some doors stay locked. Next time we travel to Egypt, where a temple ceiling holds a map of the stars, but not the stars we see today. The Zodiac of Dendera, a celestial snapshot from 1,000 years ago, or proof of a timeline that doesn't fit our own. High above the sands of Egypt, in the temple of Hathor at Dendera, a ceiling of stone holds a secret, a map of the stars. But not the stars we see today. Carved into its surface are constellations, twisted out of place, planets frozen in impossible orbits, and a zodiac that seems to chart the heavens as they were thousands of years before the temple was built. This is the Dendera zodiac, a 2,200-year-old celestial puzzle that has divided archaeologists, astronomers, and conspiracy theorists for centuries. Is it a snapshot of the ancient sky, a prophetic vision, or proof that the Egyptians inherited knowledge from a civilization lost to time? Let's begin in 1798, when Napoleon's army invaded Egypt. Among his troops were scholars tasked with documenting Egypt's wonders. In 1799, they entered the Dendera temple 60 miles north of Luxor and discovered the zodiac, a massive bas-relief 9 feet wide, depicting Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and other constellations. But something was wrong. The positions of the stars didn't match the sky of 50 BCE. When the temple was constructed, they matched a much older sky, one from Tenside 500 BCE. The French were so captivated, that in 1820 they hacked the zodiac from the ceiling and shipped it to Paris. Today, it hangs in the Louvre, but its true meaning remains as elusive as ever. First, the facts. The Dendera zodiac is a circular map divided into 36 segments representing the 36 Egyptian decans, star groups used to track time at night. The outer ring shows constellations familiar to us: Gemini, Cancer, Libra. But at the center sits a figure that baffles Egyptologists, a dwarf holding a jackal. Some say it's the god Des. Others claim it's Sirius, the dog star. But here's the problem: Sirius isn't at the center of our sky, unless you're observing it from 12,000 years ago. In 2004, astronomer Chantal Jegwolkiwes proposed a radical theory. Using software to simulate ancient skies, she found that the Dendera zodiac aligns with the summer solstice of the constellation Orion sits where it would have appeared at dawn on that date. The Milky Way arcs across the carving exactly as it did in that primordial era. If true, this would mean the zodiac isn't just art, it's a time capsule, preserving astronomical knowledge from an age before pyramids, before agriculture, before history itself. But how? The temple was built in 50 BCE. How could priests know what the sky looked like 10,500 years earlier? Mainstream Egyptologists dismiss the idea. They argue the zodiac is symbolic, not scientific, a fusion of Greek and Egyptian astrology commissioned by the Ptolemaic pharaohs. The ancient sky theory, they say, is a coincidence of mythology, yet the evidence mounts. In 2012, researchers noted that the zodiac's depiction of the precession of the equinoxes, a 26,000-year cycle caused by Earth's wobble, matches calculations made by Hipparchus in 50 BCE. But the Dendera zodiac shows this cycle with eerie precision, as if the priests had tracked it for millennia. Did they inherit data from a lost civilization? A culture that mapped the stars during the last ice age? The temple walls offer cryptic clues. Inscriptions call Dendera the place of the first time, a term linked to Zep-Tepi, the mythical golden age when gods ruled Egypt. Could Zep-Tepi be a memory of a real pre-pharaonic society, one that witnessed the sky of 10,500 BCE? Then there's the alignment anomaly. The temple's axis points not to the current pole star Polaris, but to Thubon, the star that held that position in 3000 BCE. But Thubon was never the pole star in 10,500 BCE. The plot thickens. In 2020, physicist Graham Hancock proposed a controversial answer. The zodiac encodes multiple dates. Its overlapping symbols, a bull's leg, Ursa Major, a hippo, Draco, and a crocodile, Eridanus, form a layered celestial clock. By decoding these symbols, Hancock claims the zodiac points to 10,500 BCE and 2500 BCE. A deliberate duality, merging myth with astronomy, but not everyone is convinced. Archaeologist Edwin Krupp argues the zodiac is purely ritualistic. The constellations are gods, not stars. The lion is Sekhmet. The water bearer is Hapi. The disk at the center isn't Sirius, it's the sun god Ra, encircled by the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its own tail. A symbol of eternity, not astronomy. Yet the debate obscures a deeper mystery. Even if the zodiac is symbolic, why does it mirror the sky of 10,500 BCE? Coincidence, or a whisper from a time when the Sphinx still gazed at the constellation Leo, as author Robert Bauval suggested in the Orion Mystery? The temple's own history complicates things. Dendera was rebuilt over centuries, layer upon layer. Beneath the current temple lies a foundation 1,500 years older. Did the original builders encode the zodiac's secrets? Was it copied from an older source now lost? In 2018, tech entrepreneur Elon Musk tweeted a photo of the zodiac with the caption, "Ancient aliens, igniting fresh controversy." While fringe theorists claim it's proof of extraterrestrial contact, archaeologists counter with a simpler answer: the zodiac's inaccuracies stem from the artist's limited knowledge, but this doesn't explain its mathematical precision. The angles between constellations match 10,500 BCE to within 1 degree. The truth may lie in the stars themselves. In 2023, a team from the University of Cairo used LiDAR to scan hidden chambers beneath Dendera. Deep within the temple's crypts, they found star charts painted on papyrus, faded but legible. One chart labels Sirius as the bringer of floods, linking it to the Nile's annual inundation. Another shows Orion's belt aligned with Giza's pyramids. But the most startling find was a partial text describing the first time when the gods walked among men and the sky was as below. Are these the words of poets or astronomers? The Dendera zodiac resists easy answers. It is both a masterpiece of art and a riddle of science. A reminder that the past is not a static record, but a palimpsest, scratched out truths, waiting to be read anew. Next time we sail with the Vikings into the fog of the North Atlantic. How did they navigate without compasses? The answer lies in a crystal, the Viking sunstone, a mythical gem that modern science has proven real. Picture this. A Viking longship cuts through the iron-grey waves of the North Atlantic. There's no compass, no stars visible through the storm. Just a captain clutching a glowing crystal, holding it to the sky and steering unerringly toward land. This isn't fantasy, it's a scene from a 13th century saga, a clue to one of history's greatest navigational secrets, the Viking Sunstone. For centuries, scholars dismissed it as legend. But in 2013, scientists proved it could work. A mineral that reveals the sun's position on cloudy days, guiding ships across thousands of miles of open ocean. How did the Vikings master optics 800 years before telescopes? And why has no sunstone ever been found in their graves? Let's sail into the fog. The Vikings dominated the seas from 1793 to 1066 CE, reaching North America, raiding Paris, and trading as far as Baghdad. But their greatest feat wasn't brutality, it was navigation. They crossed the North Atlantic using only the sun, stars, and a mysterious tool called a Solarstein sunstone. The Ratholfs, that saga, describes King Olaf testing a navigator by asking, "Where is the sun?" The man lifts a crystal, looks through it, and points through thick clouds. For years, historians laughed this off as myth. Then, in 1967, Danish archaeologist Thorkild Ramsku proposed a radical idea. The sunstone was calcite, a crystal that polarizes sunlight. Even on overcast days, sunlight becomes polarized, creating faint patterns in the sky. Calcite splits light into two beams, and by rotating the stone until the beams match in brightness, a navigator can pinpoint the sun's location. In 2011, a team from Hungary's Eötvös University put this to the test. Using a calcite crystal under cloudy skies, they located the sun's position within 1 degree of accuracy. The science worked. But did the Vikings use it? The plot thickened in 2013 when researchers analyzed a calcite crystal found in a 16th century English shipwreck off Alderney. Though post-Viking, it proved sailors used such stones centuries after the Norse era. Then, in 2018, a French team built a USB sunstone, a calcite gypsum composite, and sailed from Norway to Newfoundland, using only its guidance. They arrived within 100 miles of Lanceau Meadows, the Viking settlement. But here's the catch. No Viking sunstone has ever been found. Not in graves, not in settlements, only ambiguous references in sagas. Critics argue the Alderney crystal could be decorative, Even the USB experiment used modern calibrations. So where's the proof? Let's dig deeper. The Vikings weren't mineralogists, but they traded widely. Iceland spar, a transparent calcite, is found in Norway and Iceland. It's brittle, easily carved into thumb-sized prisms. In 2002, a calcite fragment was discovered in a 10th century Viking grave in Denmark, but it lay unnoticed beside a sword. Could this be our sunstone? The answer may lie in the sky itself. Vikings used a sun compass, a wooden disc that casts a shadow to track direction, but without the sun it's useless. Pair it with a sunstone though, and you have a fail-proof system. Rotate the crystal until polarized light aligns, note the sun's position on the compass, and sail on. But why no sunstones in graves? Perhaps they were too sacred to bury, or too common to note. The Konungs Skuggsja, King's Mirror, a 13th century Norse text, advises sailors to keep the sunstone dry and hidden. A hint they were precious tools, not grave goods. The mystery deepens with competing theories. Some argue the sunstone was cordierite or tourmaline, other polarizing minerals. In 2020, a team from the University of Rennes proved all three could work, but calcite was the most accurate. Others suggest the Vikings used sunboards, horizon-gauging planks paired with sunstones. Yet skeptics remain. British archaeologist Stephen Harding notes that Viking navigators likely relied on wildlife, wave patterns, and intuition. The sunstone, he argues, was a backup for the worst days. But even as a backup, its existence rewrites history. Then there's the Enigma Viking twilight voyages. Sagas mention journeys launched at dusk or dawn, when the sun sits below the horizon. In 2004, researchers realized calcite can detect polarized light even at twilight, giving sailors a 10-minute window to set their course. A fleeting advantage, but enough to reach Greenland. But the sunstone's legacy isn't just nautical. In 2017, physicists used calcite to design quantum compasses, devices that navigate without GPS. The Vikings, it seems, stumbled onto a principle that shapes modern science. Still, the question lingers: if they had such technology, why no records? The answer may lie in oral tradition. Viking navigation was a guarded secret, passed from father to son. When the age of exploration began and compasses spread, the sunstone faded into myth. Today we're left with fragments, a crystal in a shipwreck, a saga's fleeting mention, and a haunting possibility that the Vikings' greatest invention wasn't their ships, but a stone that saw the invisible. Hidden in the vaults of a crumbling Danish monastery, bound in cracked leather and sealed with wax, lies a book that should not exist. Its pages shimmer with unreadable symbols, diagrams of grotesque plants that defy biology, and naked figures floating in pools of iridescent liquid. This is the Wansbeck Manuscript, a 14th century cipher that has baffled cryptographers, infuriated historians, and fueled whispers of forbidden alchemy. Is it a madman's scribbles, a grimoire of lost science, or a trap designed to ensnare the curious? Let's begin in 1932, when the manuscript first surfaced in the attic of a Wansbeck farmhouse north of Hamburg. The farmer, tearing down beams to repair his roof, found it stuffed inside a hollowed-out Bible. He nearly burned it as kindling until he noticed the gold leaf swirling in its margins. Scholars who examined it called it the most perplexing artifact of the medieval age. Written in a script resembling a twisted blend of Hebrew, alchemical symbols and invented glyphs, it defies every known cipher. But the true mystery lies in its illustrations. Open to page 17, and you'll see a woman submerged in a vat of green liquid, her skin threaded with veins of silver. Turn to page 43, and a tree grows upside down, roots clawing at a sky filled with 7 moons. Page 89 shows a map of Europe, but with rivers flowing backward, and cities labeled Novgorodius and Londinium Obscura. None of these places exist. None of these things should exist. For decades, experts dismissed it as a Renaissance hoax, a clever forgery to swindle nobles obsessed with the occult. Then, in 2011, radiocarbon dating revealed the truth. The vellum pages dated to 1380 or 1420 C. The ink, a mix of iron gall and crushed malachite, matched medieval recipes. This was no fake. It was genuine, and it was wrong. The first serious attempt to crack the code came in 1956, when East German linguist Eva Reinhardt spent 3 years analyzing its 2004 pages. She identified 28 unique glyphs, suggesting an alphabetic system, but found no repetition patterns, no grammar, no syntax. It was as if the text shifted rules with every paragraph. Then, in 1984, a team at MIT fed the manuscript into an early supercomputer. After 10,000 hours of processing, the machine spat out a single phrase: "The moon drinks where the serpent sleeps." Cryptographers called it nonsense. Conspiracy theorists called it a clue. But the manuscript's most chilling feature isn't its text, it's its recipes. Scattered among the pages are instructions for concocting substances with names like aqua mortis and sanguis aeternum. In 2017, chemists at the University of Copenhagen attempted to recreate one of the tamer formulas, a tonic claiming to turn wine into lightning. The result, a volatile gel that ignited on contact with air, burning through a lab table. The recipe listed ingredients like dew from a yew tree and ash of the white raven, terms found in no other medieval text. Who wrote this? Theories abound. Some link it to the Brethren of the Black Cross, a shadowy alchemical order active in 14th century Germany. Others believe it's the work of a lone heretic, perhaps a disgraced monk experimenting with proto-chemistry. But the most compelling suspect is Anna von Bülow, a noblewoman accused of witchcraft. Trial records describe her owning a book of mirrors and poisoned stars, though she was burned before it could be found. The manuscript's diagrams deepen the intrigue. One depicts a human heart connected by glass tubes to a celestial orb, a possible metaphor for the soul, or a literal blueprint for an alchemical device. Another shows a serpent swallowing its tail inside a labyrinth, surrounded by numerals in a base. In 2020, mathematician Lila Voss noted that these numbers correspond to lunar cycles, but only if calculated from the year 3, a date with no known significance. Then there's the blood. In 2015, forensic analysts discovered faint traces of hemoglobin on the manuscript's cover. DNA testing revealed it belonged to multiple individuals, all male, all with a rare genetic mutation found in modern-day Brittany. Were these sacrifices, contributors, or victims of a cursed object? The Wansbeek manuscript resists all logic. X-rays show no hidden layers. UV light reveals no ink variations. Even AI trained on every known medieval cipher fails to pass it. In 2023, a TikTok trend claimed the book was a D&D manual from the past, sparking a flood of amateur sleuths. One user, IO's Cipher Hunter 99, live-streamed a 72-hour decoding marathon, only to abandon it, muttering about eyes in the margins. But perhaps the answer lies outside the text. In 1998, a librarian in Prague found a letter wedged inside a 15th century herbal addressed to the Keeper of Shadows. It warns, "Burn the Wansbeek, lest its words wake the sleeper." The letter is unsigned. The threat, unclear. Is the manuscript a warning? A weapon, or a relic of a science too dangerous to resurrect? We may never know. For now, it sits in a climate-controlled vault in Copenhagen, pages unturned, secrets intact. a reminder that some doors once opened cannot be closed. In March 1952, a Bedouin shepherd named Juma Muhammad climbed the jagged cliffs of Qumran, Jordan, chasing a stray goat. The animal had vanished into a crevice, and as Juma squeezed through the narrow opening, his fingers brushed something cold and metallic. Not pottery, not bone, a scroll, but unlike the others found nearby, this one was green, rigid, and heavy, forged from pure copper, hammered thin as parchment, and etched with strange symbols. When scholars unrolled it months later, they realized this wasn't another Dead Sea Scroll filled with prayers or prophecies. This was a treasure map, and it was written in code. The copper scroll, now known as 3Q15, lists 64 caches of gold, silver, and sacred temple artifacts. The total haul, over 60 tons of precious metals, worth more than $1 billion today. But the directions are cryptic. In the salt pit under the steps, 42 talents. In the cave of the old washer's chamber, dig 6 cubits, 12 vessels of incense. The problem? None of these places exist, or at least, not anymore. Let's dissect the enigma. First, the cipher. Unlike the other Dead Sea Scrolls, written in Hebrew or Aramaic, the copper scroll uses a chaotic blend of Greek letters, Hebrew shorthand, and arcane abbreviations. Words repeat like incantations. Numbers shift from base 12 to base 10 mid-sentence. In 1960, scholar John Allegro claimed he'd cracked the code, translating phrases like Horeba as the ruin and Ma'ara as cave. He led excavations near Jerusalem's Kidron Valley and found nothing but Roman-era pottery shards. Then, the material, why copper? It's far harder to engrave than parchment. Some believe the Essenes, a reclusive Jewish sect, chose metal to ensure the map outlasted invaders. Others think it was a decoy meant to distract Rome from the real treasures hidden elsewhere. But the scroll's darkest mystery isn't the code, it's the curse. In 2018, archaeologists uncovered a fragmentary Essene text in a Cairo museum vault. It warned, "He who seeks the copper's hoard shall be consumed by the desert's breath." At first, scholars dismissed this as metaphor until 2006, when geologists discovered lethal pockets of hydrogen sulfide gas trapped beneath the Judean desert. One whiff can kill in minutes. Was the desert's breath a literal death sentence for greedy treasure hunters? Now, let's step into the sandals of the Essenes. It's 68 CE. The Roman 10th Legion is marching on Jerusalem, torching villages and slaughtering rebels. The Essenes, pacifists who'd retreated to Qumran, know their temple's treasures, golden menorahs, silver tithe vessels, will be looted, so they hatch a desperate plan, hide the hoard and encode its locations. But they don't trust anyone, not even fellow Essenes. So they design a cipher only the high priests can decipher, and then they vanish. Fast forward to 1988, metal detector hobbyist Jim Barfield becomes obsessed with the scroll. He notices the Hebrew word tamor appears 13 times. Most translate it as oven or furnace. But Barfield, hiking near Qumran, finds ancient furnace pits dotting the desert. He digs and uncovers a Roman-era smelting site. No treasure, but proof the Essenes mined copper here. Was the scroll forged on site as Rome closed in? Theories spiral. The hoax theory. Skeptics argue the scroll is a Roman fabrication to send rebels on wild goose chases. But metallurgists confirm the copper matches Essene mining sites. The temple theory. Rabbi Yaakov Wise claims the treasures belong to Herod's temple and are still consecrated, untouchable until the Messiah comes. The cosmic theory. Author Robert Feather links the scroll to Akhenaten, the heretic Egyptian pharaoh, noting Qumran's proximity to a mysterious star-aligned copper mine. Then, in 2023, tech mogul Elon Thorne spends $20 million on Operation Copper Key drones, with LiDAR, AI trained on ancient Semitic dialects, and neutron activators to detect buried metal. After months of scanning, his team finds a sealed chamber near the Dead Sea. Inside, a single silver shekel and a second, smaller copper scroll. The media erupts. Has the map been found? No. The second scroll contains just 7 words. You are close. You are damned. Thorne abandons the dig. So where does this leave us? The copper scroll is more than a treasure map. It's a psychological labyrinth. A test of human greed. A 2,000-year-old game where the prize isn't gold, but the realization that some secrets want to stay buried. If you're riveted by this ancient enigma, consider supporting the channel. For early access, behind-the-scenes theories, and live Q&As with archaeologists, check the Patreon link below. In 1838, a Hungarian count named Gustav Bothyine donated his family's private library to the Hungarian Academy of Sciences. Among the dusty tomes was a book no one could read, bound in cracked leather. Its 404 hectares per 8 pages, filled with 200 unique symbols, some resembling runes, others hieroglyphs, and a few that looked like stars and swords. It defied every alphabet known to humanity. This is the Rohant's Codex, a 16th century manuscript written in a language that doesn't exist, depicting scenes of war, crucifixion, and rituals too strange to comprehend. Is it a sacred text, a hoax, or a cipher that could rewrite history? The Codex first surfaced in Rohank, a small Hungarian town now part of Romania. Its origins are murky. Some claim it was found in a monastery attic. Others say it arrived with a wandering scholar who vanished after delivering it. But one thing is clear: the Codex is obsessively detailed. Its pages mix Christian, Muslim, and pagan imagery. Jesus on the cross beside warriors praying to a crescent moon, priests sacrificing rams under star-filled skies. The text flows right to left, like Arabic, but the symbols match no known script. For 200 years, linguists, cryptographers, and conspiracy theorists have tried and failed to crack it. Theory 1. A forgotten dialect. In 1840, Hungarian historian Ferenc Toldi claimed the Codex was written in Old Hungarian runes, but when translated, the result was gibberish. The moon eats the blood of the bear god. Later scholars argued it was Dacian, the lost language of ancient Romania. No luck. Theory 2. A hoax. Skeptics point to the 16th century's booming market for forged relics, but carbon dating confirms the paper and ink are authentic. Worse, the Codex's paper contains hemp fibers, a material not used in Europe after the 1500s. Theory 3. A cipher for heretics. In 2018, physicist Dr. Benedict Lang noticed the symbols repeat in patterns, resembling Septuagint ciphers used by medieval alchemists. He proposed the Codex was encoded by Protestant reformers fleeing Catholic persecution. But his team's decryption yielded only fragments: gold, fire, sanctuary. Theory 4. Alien contact. Fringe researchers claim the Codex's star maps match the Sirius constellation as seen from Earth 5,000 years ago. The humanoid figures with elongated skulls, ancient astronauts. Mainstream scholars roll their eyes, but even they admit the astronomy is oddly precise. Then there's the violence. While most medieval texts glorify saints or kings, the Rohan Codex obsesses over war. One illustration shows an army marching under a black sun, captives chained to chariots. Another depicts a priest stabbing a lamb while a crowd cheers. The message is unclear. But the mood is unmistakable. This is not a holy book. In 1907, historian Bernard Munkachi tried burning a replica page to test a theory that heat would reveal hidden text. Instead, the paper curled into ash, leaving behind a faint metallic residue. Lab tests identified traces of mercury and sulfur, ingredients used in alchemy. Was the codex a recipe for the philosopher's stone? A guide to apocalyptic weapons? The plot thickens with the codex's lone decipherable word, kek, Hungarian for blood. It appears 17 times, always beside a crescent moon. But what does it mean? A password? A warning? In 2022, AI entered the fray. A team at Stanford fed the codex's symbols into a neural network trained on 1,000 dead languages. After 10,000 iterations, the AI proposed a link to Lapontic, a Celtic tongue spoken in the Alps 2,400 years ago. But without a Rosetta Stone, even AI hits a wall. Theories collapse. Questions remain. Why does the codex's final page show an empty throne under a bleeding sky? Who wrote it? And why encode a message no one can read? Perhaps the answer lies in its very existence. A book meant not to be understood. A sacred joke. A test of faith. Or a weapon waiting to be unleashed. In the rolling hills of Staffordshire, England, nestled on the grounds of Shugborough Hall, stands an 18th century monument that has tormented codebreakers, historians, and treasure hunters for 200 years. Known as the Shepherd's Monument, it depicts a mirror image of Nicholas Poussin's painting The Shepherds of Arcadia, but with a twist. Beneath the carving, 8 letters are etched into the stone, DOUO, a cipher that has defied logic, linked to everything from the Holy Grail to Freemasonic secrets. Is it a map, a prayer, or a joke played by a dead aristocrat? The monument was commissioned in the 1740s by Thomas Anson, a wealthy landowner and member of the British Parliament. Anson, a wealthy landowner and member of the British Parliament. Anson was no ordinary noble. He was obsessed with the Knights Templar, alchemy, and rumors of the Holy Grail hidden in Britain. The inscription's letters appear nowhere else in his writings, and he took their meaning to his grave. Theories and dead end, the Holy Grail coordinates. In 2004, author Richard Kemp claimed the letters point to the Grail's resting place in Wales. His book, The Grail Enigma, cites medieval Welsh texts, but critics note Kemp's decryption requires rearranging letters to fit his narrative. 2. A Latin prayer. Some scholars argue it's shorthand for Optima Uxoris, Optima Soris Votus, Virtutibus Amantissimus Vovutitissimus, a Latin dedication to Anson's wife and sister. But why the secrecy? 3. Freemasonic code. The Anson family had ties to Freemasonry. The letters could reference Masonic rites like Des Omnipotens Unus Sanctus, Victoria Eterna Virtus Vera Maneta, one Almighty God, eternal holy victory. True virtue remains, yet no Masonic records confirm this. 4. A lover's acrostic. Local lore claims it spells a message to Anson's secret lover, devotedly one united order. So vows a very virtuous maid, romantic, but unproven. The darkest theory emerged in 1987 when codebreaker Oliver Landon cracked the cipher using a 16th century Templar cipher wheel. He claimed it revealed coordinates to a vault beneath Shugborough Hall. Days later, Landon was found dead in his study, notes burned, his typewriter typing the letters VAV on repeat. In 2022, AI analyzed the inscription against Poussin's paintings, which conspiracy theorists tie to Grail lore. The algorithm found a pattern. The letters correspond to latitude-longitude markers in Poussin's The Arcadian Shepherds, a stretch of the Pyrenees Mountains. Treasure hunters raced to France and found nothing but goat herders. But why would Ensign encode such a message? The Ensign family's archives hint at a deeper secret. Thomas's brother, Admiral George Anson, circumnavigated the globe in the 1740s, returning with mysterious artifacts, including a golden cup later stolen from Shouldn. Was this the Grail? And did the inscription mark its hiding place? The curse lingers. In 2015, a team using ground-penetrating radar detected a hollow chamber beneath the monument. Before they could dig, Staffordshire Council banned excavations, citing historical preservation. Skeptics called it a cover-up. Today, the inscription remains a riddle. Is it a pretentious aristocrat's prank, a Templar relic, or proof that the Grail's secret died with the Ensigns? Beneath the sun-scorched plains of Cappadocia, Turkey, there exists a labyrinth older than empires. A city not of spires, but of shadows, carved 280 feet into the earth, with 18 levels of tunnels, chambers, and traps. Derinkuyu, a fortress built not for conquest, but for survival, a refuge for 20,000 souls. But from what? The year is 1963. A farmer knocks down a cellar wall in his home, expecting rubble. Instead, cold air hisses from a black void. Lantern light reveals a shaft, its walls scarred by ancient chisels. Archaeologists would later uncover a subterranean metropolis. Stables stacked atop wineries, churches carved below granaries, even a cemetery where the dead slept beside the living. But Derinkuyu's true mystery isn't its scale, it's its silence. This was no mere hideout. Ventilation shafts plunged 80 feet to the surface, filtering air through cleverly disguised wells. Massive stone doors, weighing a ton, could seal entire corridors in seconds. Wells tapped into underground rivers, oil lamps lit endless nights. A civilization prepared to wait. But for what? Historians recite the usual suspects: Persians, Mongols, Crusaders, but no invader explains the obsession. Why 600 hidden entrances? Why a 3-mile tunnel connecting Derinkuyu to another underground city, Kaimakli? Why carved chambers for livestock, but no palaces? Why churches, but no treasure? Local legends whisper of sky demons and plagues that blackened the sun. Byzantine texts describe refugees fleeing a scourge from the stars. In 2020, geologists discovered a sealed chamber beneath Derinkuyu's lowest level, a room fused shut by time. Authorities called it unstable. Workers claimed they heard things, a hum that made their teeth ache. And then there are the sandals. In 2018, archaeologists found hundreds of leather sandals arranged in circles on the 14th level. No bones, no bodies. A ritual, a warning, or the only remnants of those who dared return to the surface and met what waited there. Walk Derinkuyu's corridors today, and you'll feel it. The weight of 20,000 breaths held in the dark. Guides tell of cameras failing, voices echoing from sealed tunnels. Visitors swear they're being followed, and in the deepest shafts, some claim to hear breathing. What were they hiding from? Raiders, gods, or something still out there waiting? Next time, we emerge from the depths to Africa's stone enigma, the Great Zimbabwe Walls, a citadel of precision-cut granite, abandoned to the savannah. Who built it? Kings or giants? In the heart of southern Africa, where the savannah meets the sky, stands a fortress of stone. Walls 36 feet high, built without mortar, their granite blocks fitting like puzzle pieces. This is Great Zimbabwe, a city abandoned to time, its builders forgotten, its purpose shrouded in myth. Who crafted these walls, and why did they vanish? The year is 1871. European explorer Karl Marx stumbles upon the ruins. He refuses to believe Africans built it. Instead, he claims it's the lost city of Ophir from King Solomon's mines, a racist myth that persists for decades. But the truth is far more extraordinary. Carbon dating reveals the truth. Great Zimbabwe thrived between 100 and 1450 AD, a metropolis of 18,000 people ruled by a king named Monhumutapa. Gold traders, cattle herders, artisans, their stonework rivals Machu Picchu, terraces, towers, and a conical fortress overlooking the valley. But where did they go? Clues linger in the soil. Portuguese texts from the 1500s speak of a golden empire that collapsed after trade routes shifted. But why abandon such a marvel? No war, no plague, just empty halls. Then there's the hill complex, a labyrinth of passages leading to a sacred chamber. Inside, archaeologists found 8 soapstone birds, each atop a 3-foot monolith, symbols of a dynasty or guardians against something older. Local Shona legends tell of a king who angered the gods. They sent winged serpents to drive his people into the wilderness. Strange, then, that the birds of Great Zimbabwe have reptilian features. In 1929, a British archaeologist vanished while studying the ruins. His journal, found days later, described a hue in the walls and shadows that moved against the wind. The final entry: they are not carvings, they are warnings. Today, Great Zimbabwe stands as a testament to Africa's lost genius. But walk its walls at dusk, and you'll feel it. The gaze of those stone birds, watching, waiting, as if the city's true architects never left. Next time we dive into the Pacific's depths. The Yonaguni Monument, submerged pyramids off Japan's coast, an ancient city drowned by the sea, or a trick of nature. Off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, 82 feet beneath the waves, lies a structure that defies explanation, a massive stone plateau, terraced like a step pyramid, walls angled at 90 degrees, a road, a stadium, even what appears to be a carved face. Is this the lost city of Mo, or Mother Nature's greatest prank? Diver Kihachiro Aratake discovered it in 1986. Geologists argue it's sandstone eroded by currents, but Professor Masaki Kimura insists it's man-made. Tool marks, quarry scars, a triangular pool cut with precision, and the clincher, a stone column engraved with a symbol matching carvings from Taiwan's ancient Langdao culture, 2,000 years gone. If this is human, it was built when sea levels were 30 feet lower over 10,000 years ago, a time when, according to mainstream science, humans were hunter-gatherers, not architects. But the plot thickens. In 1998, divers found a stone tablet nearby, covered in glyphs resembling Okinawan Kaida script, a language not deciphered until the 19th century. How did it sink 50 feet underwater? Skeptics remain. They point to the face, a pareidolia illusion. The stadium, a natural basin. Yet in 2007, sonar mapping revealed a second structure 300 meters west, a perfect 5-tiered pyramid, its base measuring 100 x 50 meters. Nature rarely carves symmetry. Then there are the legends. Yonaguni's elders speak of Nirai Kanai, a mythical land beyond the sea that sank in a single night. Sound familiar? Plato's Atlantis, but in the Pacific. Coincidence? In 2012, a team of marine biologists discovered something unsettling: a network of tunnels beneath the monument, too narrow for humans. wool smooth, as if melted. And at the end of one, a chamber, empty, except for a single humanoid handprint in the stone, size 14 inches. Natural or not, Yonaguni haunts those who dive it. Divers report malfunctioning equipment, sudden vertigo, and shadows that dart just beyond the light, as if the monument guards its secrets fiercely, or something within does. Next time, we journey to India's cursed fortress, the Bangar Fort, a ruin where sunlight never touches the ground and trespassers vanish. In the heart of Rajasthan's Aravalli Hills, where the air smells of dust and dread, stands a fortress frozen in time, Bangar Fort. A 17th century ruin where shadows cling like curses, sunlight refuses to touch the earth, and those who linger after dark vanish. The story begins with a curse. Legend claims the fort's builder, King Madho Singh, sought permission from Guru Balu Nath, a hermit who meditated on the land. The guru agreed, but with one condition: the fort's shadow must never touch my home. If it does, Bangar will fall. Madho Singh obeyed, until his grandson raised the fort's height, casting a shadow over the guru's hut. Enraged, Balu Nath cursed Bangar to ruin. But locals whisper another tale. A sorcerer named Singhia fell in love with the Princess Ratnavati. He enchanted her perfume to seduce her, but she discovered his plot and crushed the vial. The oil morphed into a boulder, crushing him. With his dying breath, he cursed the fort. No roof shall shelter Bangar, and all who dwell here will perish. History and horror collide here. Bangar's grand Havis temples and bazaars stand roofless to this day. The princess's palace, a skeleton of arches, its walls scarred by claw marks. Locals refuse to enter after sunset, not just from fear but law. The Archaeological Survey of India posted a sign, strictly prohibited to remain here after dark. But some dare to defy. In 1992, 2 French tourists ignored warnings to camp overnight. They were found at dawn, alive but catatonic, their hair turned white. In 2010, a photographer vanished while documenting the fort's moonlit ruins. His camera was recovered. The final photo, a blurred figure with elongated limbs, standing in the princess's courtyard. Even the daylight offers no refuge. Visitors report vertigo in the temples, whispers in empty corridors, and a cold spot in the market square, where the temperature drops 20 degrees in seconds. But the true horror is the sunlight itself. At noon, when the desert sun bleaches the land, Bangar's courtyards remain twilight, as if the curse bends physics, or the fort exists outside time. Scientists blame optical illusions. The fort's alignment with the hills casts perpetual shadows. But ask the guards. They'll tell you about the night patrols they avoid, the clatter of invisible armor, the smell of burnt perfume, and the princess's chamber, where a silhouette still paces the broken balcony, waiting. Is Bangar haunted by a sorcerer's rage, a princess's grief, or something older, hungrier, that the curse merely unleashed? Next time, we leave the shadows for the sky. The Hessdalen light, Norway's floating orbs of light that dance like sentient stars and defy every law of physics. In the remote valleys of central Norway, where the northern lights paint the sky in ethereal greens and purples, there exists another light show, one that defies logic, mocks science, and terrifies those who witness it. The Hessdalen lights, glowing orbs of white, yellow, and blood red that dance like sentient stars. They hover, split apart, accelerate to 18,000 miles per hour in a heartbeat, and vanish without a trace. This is no aurora, this is something. The first modern sightings began in December 1981. Locals in the tiny village of Hessdalen reported phantom headlights floating above the snow-draped hills. Not the gentle shimmer of the aurora, these lights pulsed with intent. They stalked hikers, darting through pine forests, lingering outside farmhouse windows for hours. By 1983, the phenomenon exploded. Hundreds of sightings flooded in. Norway's military scrambled jets, UFO hunters descended, and scientists armed with spectrometers, radar, and night vision cameras set up camp in the valley, determined to crack the mystery. What they recorded would rewrite the laws of physics or expose their inadequacy. Meet Project Hessdalen, a team of physicists, engineers, and astronomers who turned the valley into a laboratory. In 1998, they captured thermal imaging of an orb the size of a car. Temperature readings: absolute zero, impossible. Light cannot exist without heat, yet there it was, a freezing inferno, brighter than a welder's torch, radiating no energy, as if it were harvesting cold. The data grew stranger. The orbs emitted microwaves strong enough to fry unshielded electronics. Their light spectrum contained isotopes not found on Earth. They split into smaller orbs, orbited each other in perfect synchronization, then merged back into one. In 2007, a physicist named Erling Strand aimed a laser at a hovering orb. The light dodged the beam, streaking sideways like a predator, evading a trap, before vanishing with a sonic boom that shattered windows in a farmhouse 2 miles away. Theories: plasma bubbles formed by piezoelectric stress in the valley's quartz-rich bedrock, ball lightning, even cold fusion. But Hessdalen laughs at logic. In 2014, geologist Bjorn Harjig set up a seismic sensor near a hotspot. When an orb appeared, the device recorded a 3.8 magnitude earthquake inside the Earth's crust. Seconds later, the orb shot into space at hypersonic speeds. Coincidence or correlation? But the true horror lies in the encounters. In 1992, farmer Lars Johansson claimed an orb, the color of rotted meat, hovered over his sheep pasture for 3 days. When it left, the soil was sterile, barren. Not a blade of grass grew there for a decade. In 2005, a hiker named Anja Sørensen followed a glowing white orb into a ravine. She returned 3 days later, frostbitten and delirious, babbling about voices like radio signals underwater and a black door in the cliffside. The military's involvement deepens the mystery. Since 2000, the Norwegian Defense Research Establishment has quietly monitored the valley: satellite surveillance, motion sensors, classified experiments. In 2019, a leaked report revealed they detected anomalous gravitational waves coinciding with the lights. Are they testing next-gen weapons? Or keeping something contained? The past offers no refuge. Sami elders speak of Tjuvgenjaga, the lights of the dead, spirits of those lost in blizzards, forever hunting warmth. Viking sagas describe dragon's breath in the valley, a fire that freezes flesh. Even the Nazis took interest. In 1942, an SS occult unit vanished here. Their frozen journals, recovered in 1960, mention blue fire and a hum that liquefies bone. Today, the lights still dance. Project Hessdalen's live feed broadcasts them nightly to a mesmerized world. But ask the scientists, they'll admit defeat. Dr. Strand once said, "It's like studying a ghost with a PhD." The orbs defy categorization. Natural, supernatural, or something older, a remnant of Earth's primordial energy flickering to life in the ice. Or perhaps they're not of this Earth at all. In 2022, a team of astrophysicists from Oslo University made a chilling discovery. Buried in decades of data was a pattern. The lights cluster near fissures in the valley's bedrock. Fissures that lead to a subterranean cavern system, a cavern system older than the Himalayas. And in 2023, drones equipped with LiDAR mapped a chamber 1,200 feet below the surface, a chamber with smooth glass-like walls and a single humanoid silhouette burned into the stone. The Norwegian government sealed the area, officially due to landslide risks, but locals whisper of midnight convoys, trucks hauling steel vaults into the valley, of scientists who never returned, and of the lights themselves, growing bolder, brighter, hungrier. What are the Hessdalen lights? A cosmic accident, a warning, or a key? A key to something buried so deep, so ancient, that its awakening could rewrite everything we know about our world. Next time, we follow a river's deadly secret, the Devil's Kettle, a Minnesota waterfall that swallows half a river, and no one knows where it goes. On the wild shores of Lake Superior, where Minnesota's North Shore churns with icy fury, there exists a geological riddle that has baffled scientists, swallowed adventurers, and defied the very laws of nature. The Devil's Kettle, a split waterfall where half the Brule River vanishes into a gaping void, a hole that leads nowhere. The kettle's secret begins with ice. 10,000 years ago, glaciers carved this land, leaving behind a labyrinth of volcanic rock and hidden caverns. But nothing explains this. At Judge C.R. Magny State Park, the Brule River splits at the falls. The eastern half cascades 50 feet into a frothing pool. The western half, it funnels into a jagged granite throat and disappears forever. In 1957, a team of hydrologists poured 100 gallons of fluorescent dye into the kettle. They monitored Lake Superior, downstream wells, even caves miles away. Nothing. The dye vanished. In 1977, they tried logging tools, GPS trackers, ping-pong balls, even cameras, all swallowed without a trace. The kettle devoured them all. Then came the theories. A subterranean river, impossible. The bedrock is solid, a hidden aquifer. The volume is too vast. The kettle swallows 200 gallons per second. Some whispered of a gateway, a portal to another dimension, a hellmouth, a cosmic drain. But in 2015, geologists using ground-penetrating radar found something unsettling. A cavern system 500 feet below the surface, far deeper than the local water table, a cavern with no exit. Locals tell darker tales. The Ojibwe called it Nishape Ma, the lair of a horned water lynx that drags the unwary into the underworld. Settlers in the 1800s spoke of loggers who vanished near the falls, their screams echoing upstream. Even the name Devil's Kettle comes from a prospector's journal in 1893. Heard the devil himself brewing storms in that hole, saw a man fall in, never heard the splash. But the kettle's true horror emerged in 1994. Kayaker James Wolford ignored warnings to ride the eastern falls. A current grabbed his boat, sucking him toward the kettle. Rescue teams found his kayak wedged in rocks, but Wolford was gone. His GoPro washed ashore a week later. The final footage, a 12-minute descent into pitch black, the camera's mic capturing wet, rhythmic breathing, and a faint, distant ringing, like a funeral bell. In 2017, drone pilot Emma Cast attempted to map the kettle's depths. She launched a submersible drone armored in titanium. It descended 300 feet before the feed glitched. The last image, a smooth spherical chamber, its walls scarred with claw marks. The drone's sensors spiked 30/50th in water that should have been near freezing. Then in 2021, the park made a grim discovery. A hiker's backpack, half buried in river silt. Inside, a journal filled with frantic sketches of a black sun and bones in the walls. The final entry, "It's not a hole, it's a mouth, and it's hungry." Authorities dismissed it as psychosis until carbon dating revealed the journal's paper was from 1912. Scientists now whisper of deep biosphere microbes, organisms living miles underground, surviving on geothermal heat. Could the kettle be a vent for some primordial ecosystem, a living, breathing entity digesting whatever falls into its gullet? Or is it, as Ojibwe elders warn, a prison sealed by ancient shamans to contain Nishiproshu, a creature now stirring in the dark? The devil's kettle keeps its secrets. But this much is certain: the Brula River is bleeding. Each year, the kettle's flow increases. Trees along its banks rot from the roots up, and park rangers report a new sound at night, a vibration in the ground as if something far below is digging. Next time we venture into the Amazon's heart of fire, the boiling river of Peru, a 4-mile stretch of water hot enough to cook fish alive, and the shamans who commune with its lethal spirits. Deep in the Peruvian Amazon, where the canopy swallows the sun and the air drips with the breath of the earth, there flows a river that boils, not metaphorically, not seasonally, literally. The Shano Timpishka, the river boiled by the sun's heat, a 4-mile torrent of water hot enough to brew tea, cook fish alive, and melt flesh from bone. But this is no geothermal fluke. Locals say it's guarded by a spirit older than the rainforest itself, a spirit that hungers. The first outsider to document the river was Andres Russo, a geologist, in 2011. He expected a myth. Instead, he found water reaching 200 borg without a volcano. Geothermal vents, none nearby. Radioactive bedrock, tests, came back cold. The river defies all logic, flowing 400 miles from the nearest volcanic system. As one elder warned Russo, the river doesn't boil because of the earth. It boils because of the Yakomama. The Yakomama, a colossal serpent spirit, said to birth hot springs with her breath. Shamans commune with her through ayahuasca rituals, begging her not to drink trespassers. But not all heed the warnings. In 1984, loggers chased a wounded jaguar into the river. They found the cat's skeleton the next day, clean of meat. When they tried to leave, their boat's engine failed. Survivors claimed vines dragged their companions under, but the vines had teeth. Russo's team discovered why in 20. Submerged thermal cameras revealed fissures spewing superheated gas, not from below, but from sideways, as if the river itself were exhaling. Then came the microbes. DNA analysis found organisms thriving at 200 borg without sunlight or sulfur, a new branch of life, or something older. But the river's true terror lies in its whispers. Shamans speak of Mayantuyako, a hidden sanctuary where healers bathe in the boiling waters to purge demons. In 2019, journalist Laura Perez joined a ritual. She vanished for 3 days. When found, her skin was unburned, her hair white. She babbled about a city of steam and voices in the mist. Her camera held footage of humanoid shadows wading through the river, unharmed. Then there are the pipes. In 2020, satellite imagery revealed metallic tubes snaking beneath the riverbed, too precise for nature, too ancient for modern hands. Inca, pre-Inca, or older. Divers attempting to investigate were repelled by currents hot enough to warp their suits. One claimed the pipes pulsed, as if pumping liquid from a heartbeat deep underground. Now the river is changing. Each dry season, it grows hotter. New tributaries boil where none existed. In 2022, a team from National Geographic dropped sensors into the depths. The devices recorded a sound, a subsonic hum that induced panic attacks in the crew. When retrieved, the sensors were coated in a black sludge that moved. Lab tests inconclusive. The sludge reacted to heat, multiplying exponentially. It was alive. What is the Shana Timpishka? A geological anomaly, a living organism, or a bridge to a world where heat is life, and life devours. The shamans know. They warn that the Yakumama grows restless, that the river is her tongue, tasting our world for prey. One thing is certain. This is no river. It's a throat, and we're standing in its mouth. Next time we confront a gateway to the underworld, the door to hell. Turkmenistan's gas crater that's burned non-stop for 50 years. Why does it never extinguish? Because something feeds the flames. In the heart of Turkmenistan's Karakum Desert, where the sands shimmer like shattered glass, there burns a wound in the earth. A crater 20-30 feet wide, vomiting flames 100 feet into the sky. For 50 years, it has raged. No rain can quench it. No science can explain it. This is the Darvaza crater, the door to hell, and the fire is alive. The official story, 1971. Soviet engineers drill for oil, hit a methane cavern, and the ground collapses. Fearing environmental disaster, they ignite the gas, expecting weeks of fire. 50 years later, it still burns. But locals whisper another tale. The Soviets didn't find the cavern. They unsealed it. Turkmen elders speak of Jahannam, a hellmouth guarded by Div's fire demons, banished by Zoroastrian priests. 3,000 years ago, ancient texts describe a well to the underworld near Darvaza, sealed with iron and incantations. When Soviet machinery pierced that seal, they say the Divs returned, and the fire is their breath. The crater's defiance of physics is chilling. Methane reserves should have depleted in months. Yet infrared scans show heat plumes snaking miles underground, far beyond the crater. In 2018, explorer George Kourounis descended into the pit. His sensors spiked at 3,500 VR, hotter than a crematorium. His footage revealed shapes in the flames, humanoid figures writhing, mouths agape in silent screams. Then there's the sound. In 2020, a team from National Geographic lowered a microphone into the abyss. The recording, not just fire, voices, hundreds, overlapping in dead languages, Sogdian, Avestan, dialects lost for millennia. Linguists translated one phrase, repeated like a chant, burn it all. But the truth may lie in what the Soviets buried. Classified KGB files leaked in 2016 mention biological specimens recovered from the cavern, calcified bones of unknown creatures, fused with volcanic glass. One memo warns, the fire is not a chemical reaction, it is metabolic. Now the door is widening. Satellite imagery shows new fissures snaking from the crater, each exhaling methane fires. In 2022, a drone captured a pillar of flame erupting 20 miles southwest, a sibling crater, locals say, as if hell is branching. Scientists scramble for answers. A team from MIT proposed geochemical extremophiles, microbes that metabolize methane, creating a self-sustaining reaction. But when they sampled the crater's air in 2023, they found something worse, a black, oily residue that crawled up their collection tubes. Under a microscope, it resembled neurons pulsing, connecting, forming networks. The shamans know. They gather at the crater's edge, chanting to Ahriman, the Zoroastrian lord of darkness. They claim the door was never meant to stay shut, that the Devs are just the beginning, and the black residue, Ahriman's blood. What have we unleashed? A fossilized ecosystem. A god or a hive, a living fire, using methane as fuel, Earth as its host. One thing is certain, the door to hell cannot be closed, only fed. Next time, we unravel a game of giants, the stone spheres of Costa Rica, perfectly round granite orbs, some weighing 16 tons, an ancient sport, or a map to something buried. (1930). The United Fruit Company clears land for banana plantations. Workers uncover half-buried spheres, smooth as planets. Dynamite reveals more dozens. Some pristine, others shattered. Locals call them balas de los dioses, bullets of the gods. But these were no weapons. They were messages. The facts defy logic. Carved from gabbro, a volcanic rock harder than steel, the sphere's symmetry rivals modern engineering. No chisel marks, no tool remnants, just eerie perfection. Archaeologists claim the pre-Columbian Daquis culture shaped them between 600–100 AD. But how? A 2013 laser scan revealed deviations of less than 0.2%, precision unmatched until the Industrial Age. Legends whisper of Talachque, a race of stone giants who molded the spheres with star metal tools. Elders speak of a cosmic game played by gods, using the orbs to map constellations or predict eclipses. In 2017, astronomer Dr. Juan Martinez found a cluster aligned with Orion's belt, exactly as it appeared in 750 AD. Coincidence? Or celestial code? But the spheres harbor darker secrets. In 1948, looters dynamited one near Palmar Sur. Inside, a cavity filled with mercury and jade figurines of beings with elongated skulls. The looters vanished within weeks. Their last journal entry, "The spheres are alive. They dream." Modern tech deepens the enigma. Ground-penetrating radar in 2020 detected hollow chambers beneath intact spheres. When researchers drilled a 2-inch core sample, their equipment failed. The sample, it emitted faint radio waves patterns, matching pulsar signals recorded in 1987. Then came the movements. In 2019, a storm toppled trees near Finca 6, revealing a sphere rolled 30 feet from its pedestal, uphill. Security cameras captured nothing. But soil samples showed magnetic anomalies, as if the ground had repelled it. Shamans warn the spheres are anchors, tethering our world to another. In 2022, a team from MIT placed quantum sensors near a cluster. The devices detected micro-wormholes, fleeting gravitational ripples smaller than atoms. Theoretical? Yes. Terrifying? Absolutely. Are the spheres a game board for gods, a star map, or something alive? Sleeping sentinels from a time when giants walked the earth. One truth remains: their purpose died with their makers, or perhaps their makers died to hide it. Next time, we take flight with the Saqqara bird, a 2,200-year-old Egyptian wooden glider. Did the ancients master aerodynamics or commune with sky gods? In the shadow of Saqqara's step pyramid, where the sands guard secrets older than time, lies an artifact that rewrites history, a wooden bird. Sleek as a falcon, wings swept back in aerodynamic perfection. The Saqqara bird, crafted 2,200 years ago, long before Da Vinci sketched his flying machines, Or did the ancients soar the skies long before him? Discovered in 1898 within the tomb of Iman, a scribe of the late period, the Sakura bird was dismissed as a child's toy until 1969, when aeronautical engineer Khalil Messihar noticed something off. The tail fin wasn't vertical like a bird's. It was horizontal, a stabilizer for flight. Wind tunnel tests stunned scientists. With a slight adjustment to the wing's angle of attack, the Sakura bird generated lift. Add a rear propeller, and it could theoretically fly, but the Egyptians left no records of aviation. No engines, no runways, just this 6-inch artifact, and whispers of gods who rode the winds. Critics scoff. They call it a votive object, a symbol of Horus, the falcon-headed god. Yet the Sakura bird lacks legs, eyes, or hieroglyphs. Its wood remains unidentified, resistant to rot, lighter than cedar. And in 2006, a team from Cairo University made a chilling discovery: microscopic gold filaments embedded in the wings. A primitive circuit, or a fragment of something divine. Legends muddle the truth. The Edfu texts speak of Shiship Ankh, living images, flying machines used by priests to commune with gods. A 3rd century BCE papyrus describes Pharaoh Jedefre witnessing a silver falcon that shrieked like Sobek and vanished into the sun. Coincidence or coded history? Then came the replicas. In 1991, modeler Martin Gregory built a scaled-up Sakura bird. It flew, but only once. During the second test, the wings snapped mid-air. Gregory swore the wood twisted on its own. In 2018, a drone engineer added a small motor. The replica shot 500 feet skyward, then spun wildly, carving hieroglyph-like patterns in the clouds before disintegrating. But the true horror lies in the original. Since 2015, the Sakura bird has been sealed in a nitrogen-filled case. Curators claim it's to preserve the wood. Workers tell a different story. They say at night, the artifact vibrates, a low resonant hum. And in 2020, infrared cameras caught heat signatures around it without a heat source, as if it's charging. Was the Sakura bird a toy, a ritual object, or a key, a fragment of lost technology meant to unlock skies we've forgotten? The ancients revered Thoth, god of knowledge, who supposedly flew in a boat of millions of years. Perhaps they didn't worship gods. Perhaps they piloted them. Legends muddle the truth. The Edfu texts speak of Shiship Ankh, living images, flying machines used by priests to commune with gods. A 3rd century BCE papyrus describes Pharaoh Jedefre witnessing a silver falcon that shrieked like Sobek and vanished into the sun. Coincidence or coded history? Then came the replicas. In 1991, modeler Martin Gregory built a scaled-up Sakura bird. It flew, but only once. During the second test, the wings snapped mid-air. Gregory swore the wood twisted on its own. In 2018, a drone engineer added a small motor. The replica shot 500 feet skyward, then spun wildly, carving hieroglyph-like patterns in the clouds before disintegrating. But the true horror lies in the original. Since 2015, the Sakura bird has been sealed in a nitrogen-filled case. Curators claim it's to preserve the wood. Workers tell a different story. They say at night, the artifact vibrates, a low resonant hum, and in 2020 infrared cameras caught heat signatures around it, without a heat source, as if it's charging. Was the Sakura bird a toy, a ritual object, or a key, a fragment of lost technology meant to unlock skies we've forgotten. The ancients revered Thoth, god of knowledge, who supposedly flew in a boat of millions of years. Perhaps they didn't worship gods. Perhaps they piloted them. Next time we defy gravity with the Baghdad airship. Pre-Wright brothers flight myths from 9th century Persia, blueprints for a mechanical bird, or evidence of a golden age lost to sand and tar. The Banu Moses designs are no child's fantasy. Their bird boasted adjustable wings, a tail rudder, and a boiler fueled by fire-water naphtha. Historians dismissed it as theoretical until 1936, when a German archaeologist unearthed something far older near Ctesiphon, a terracotta tablet depicting a winged chariot inscribed with Akkadian cuneiform. The date, 2000 BCE. Then came the Baghdad battery. Discovered in 1938, these clay jars filled with vinegar and iron rods could generate 1.5 volts of electricity. Paired with the Kitab al-Hiyal was this ancient Persia's power source. In 1972, engineer Willard Gray built a replica of the battery and used it to electroplate gold onto silver. Proof of ancient tech, or a fragment of something grander. But the true enigma erupted in 2003. Looters ransacked Baghdad's National Museum during the Iraq War. Among the stolen artifacts, a sealed brass cylinder labeled Al-Jahiz's vessel. CIA files declassified in 2021 revealed the cylinder contained papyrus fragments, a 9th century flight manual, diagrams of gyroscopes, equations for thrust-to-weight ratios, and a warning, beware the jinn of the upper air. Legends bleed into reality. Persian myths tell of Kavus, a king who tied eagles to his throne to ascend to heaven, only to crash in fury. Zoroastrian texts describe Kavus, a king who tied eagles to his throne to ascend to heaven. But in 2018, a Taliban bunker in Afghanistan yielded a darker truth, a cave mural of a winged machine, its cockpit filled with skeletons, carbon dated to 500 AD. The plot thickened in 2023. A Saudi oil survey team drilling near Medina hit a hollow chamber 1,000 feet down. Inside a corroded bronze engine, its pistons etched with Pahlavi script. Linguists translated one phrase, "The sky is a lie." Engineers who touched the metal reported burns and visions of a city above the clouds. Was the Baghdad airship a toy, a weapon, or a failed escape? The Banu Musa's manuscripts hint at calamity. One passage warns of black winds that devoured pilots. Another describes a fleet lost to a storm with no clouds. Modern theorists speculate, could ancient Persia have brushed against the Van Allen belt, a radiation zone 400 miles up? Did they discover something waiting there? Today, the Baghdad battery sits in a museum, labeled a ritual object. The Kitab al-Hiyal gathers dust. But in Riyadh, the bronze engine hums under guard, its purpose unknown. And in the deserts of Iraq, Bedouins still speak of a silver-winged shadow that circles the full moon and weeps. Next time we unearth a relic older than humanity, the Koso artifact, a 500,000-year-old spark plug found encased in stone, evidence of ancient astronauts, or a glitch in time itself. In the sun-baked hills of Olancha, California, 1961, 3 rockhounds crack open a seemingly ordinary geode, expecting crystal veins. Instead, they find a machine, a metallic cylinder, porcelain insulator, and copper alloy encased in stone older than humanity itself. This is the Koso artifact, a 500,000-year-old spark plug, or proof that time itself is fractured. The artifact's design is unmistakable. A 1920s-era champion spark plug, but X-rays revealed a hexagonal shell around it, fused with mineral deposits. Geologists initially dated the encasement to 500,000 years, 500,000 years before Homo sapiens walked Earth. How? The answer lies in a war between science and the impossible. Skeptics struck back. In 1999, engineer Pierre Stromberg dissected the artifact. The Jurjurj, a hardened lump of rusted iron and clay, a concretion that can form in decades. The spark plug, likely from a 1920s Ford Model T. Case closed? Not quite, because the deeper truth is stranger. The artifact's copper core showed crystalline structures found only in high-voltage discharges, like a lightning strike. But the nearest thunderstorm here was 10,000 years ago, and in 2021 MIT physicists found trace isotopes of plutonium-244, an element non-existent in nature, a relic of nuclear testing. Then came the patterns. Under electron microscopy, the artifact's shell bore fractal etchings matching Neolithic cave art and Voyager's golden record. Coincidence? Or a message? Conspiracy theorists pounced. Ancient aliens, time travelers, a government experiment gone wrong. But one detail chills historians. In 1944, a B-29 bomber vanished near a launcher. Its wreckage never found. The artifact now sits in a private vault, sealed since 1960. But in 2018, a hacker group called Chrono 7 leaked classified DARPA files, Project Tachyon, documents describing temporal concretions and anomalous objects predating their origin. One line stands out: Koso is not an accident, it's a beacon. Is the Koso artifact a glitch, a warning, or a key? A key to doors we've yet to open. Because in 2023, miners in Chile found another, buried 300 feet down, encasing a USB drive from 1996. Next time, we unearth a tool older than the dinosaurs, the London Hammer, a 400-million-year-old mallet embedded in Cretaceous rock. Who swung it in an age before trees? In the banks of Texas' Red Creek, 1936, a simple walk becomes a window into the impossible. Max Hahn and his wife stumble upon a loose rock, its surface split by a rusted metal protrusion. They pry it free and unearth a hammer. Not just any hammer, a tool encased in Cretaceous rock from an era when dinosaurs ruled and humans did not exist. The London Hammer, a 6-inch iron head, fused to a petrified wooden handle, challenges everything we know. The rock encasing it, dated to 400 million years old. But this hammer's design is unmistakably human. A paradox, a glitch in time, or proof that history is not a straight line. Scientific analysis deepens the enigma. The hammer's metal is 96% iron, 2.6% chlorine, 0.74% sulfur, a purity unmatched by modern smelting. The handle, partially colourfied, as if flash fossilized by intense heat. In 1985, metallurgist Dr. Hans-Joachim Zillmer tested it. No slag, no impurities, just iron forged by a technique we still can't replicate. Skeptics argue the hammer is a 19th century miner's tool, encased in a limestone concretion that formed rapidly. But in 2003, X-rays revealed microscopic gold filaments in the iron, an alloy with no historical precedent, and the chlorine. It's concentrated in the hammer's core, a feature found only in deep-sea hydrothermal vents. Legends twist the knife. Local Apache tales speak of the Thunder People, blacksmiths who forged weapons in the belly of the earth, long before humans. In 1994, a hiker 50 miles from the discovery site found a petroglyph of a figure wielding a hammer beside a stegosaurus. Coincidence? Or ancestral memory? Then came the pulsar. In 2016, researchers at UT Austin detected faint electromagnetic waves emanating from the hammer, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. When they amplified the signal, it broadcast a frequency matching the Schumann resonance, Earth's natural 7.83 Hz, as if the hammer were tuned to the planet itself. Creationists claim it as proof of divine intervention. Scientists call it a geological prank. But in 2023, a uranium mine in Canada unearthed something worse, a screwdriver encased in 300-million-year-old quartz. Same alloy, same chlorine core, same eerie hum. Is the London hammer a relic of a lost civilization? A time traveler's tool? Or something older, an artifact from a parallel Earth, where industrial dawns flickered in the Devonian dark? One truth remains: the hammer is not alone, and its brethren are awakening. Next time we cross oceans and centuries, the main penny. A Norse coin found in a Native American burial site, 2,000 years before Columbus. Proof of Viking explorers, or a hoax that rewrites history. On the storm-lashed coast of Maine, 1957. Archaeologists sift through the shell-laden soil of the Goddard site, a prehistoric Native American trading hub. Amidst stone tools and pottery shards, they uncover a glint of silver, a coin etched with a cross, a king and cryptic runes. This is the main penny, minted in Norway, 1065–1080 AD, buried in Wabanaki land, centuries before Columbus. How did it cross an ocean of time? The penny's journey defies logic. Struck under King Olaf Kaya, it traveled 3,000 miles to a native grave dated to 1180, 180, 180, 180, 180, 180, 180, 180, or a token traded hand-to-hand across continents, passed from Micmac to Penobscot until it rested in a chief's tomb. Mainstream scholars dismiss it as a trade oddity, a single coin, not a hoard. But in 1978, forensic analysis revealed saltwater corrosion on its edges. This coin sailed, it crossed the North Atlantic. But with whom? Enter the sagas. The Vinland sagas speak of Leif Erikson's voyage to a land of wild grapes around 1000 AD. But Maine, too far south, too cold. Then, in 2015, a storm eroded a Newfoundland cliff, exposing a Norse-style smithy 300 miles south of Lenaeos. Could Viking explorers have pushed further, or did the Wabanaki come to them? Wabanaki oral histories whisper of boatmen with hair like fire who traded metal for furs. In 2002, ethnographer Harold E. L. Prince uncovered a Penobscot tale of Kekiskaya, a legendary voyage eastward to an island of pale giants. Coincidence or ancestral memory? But the plot thickens. In 2021, geneticists found European mitochondrial DNA in 1,000-year-old Micmac remains, a strain linked to Norse Iceland. And in 2023, a team scanning the Goddard site with ground-penetrating radar found something. A ship's rivet. A sword hilt. The state sealed the findings. Pending review, they claimed. Is the main penny a fluke? Or a breadcrumb leading to a forgotten chapter where Norse and Wabanaki shared fires? The coin's solitude gnaws at historians. Why no other artifacts? No tools, no bones? Unless theories simmer, the Vikings didn't come to stay. They came to trade. And the Wabanaki, master traders of the Dawnland, carried their silver deep into the continent. But not all believe. Skeptics point to 19th century collectors who salted sites with artifacts. Yet the main penny's corrosion matches 800 years of main soil. And then there's the curse. Since its discovery, 3 archaeologists linked to the dig died abruptly. 2 in a boating accident, 1 of a fever. Coincidence? The Wabanaki say, the dead don't like their treasures unearthed. Today the main penny sits in a museum, labeled trade goods, but on foggy nights, guides at the Goddard site swear they hear oars slapping waves and see shadows dragging longships onto beaches that haven't existed for a millennium. Next time, we delve into an enigma buried deeper than time. The Ayod Wedge, a 250,000-year-old aluminum artifact found in ancient sediment in an age before smelting. On the banks of the Mureș River, Romania, 1973, construction workers dig a trench 30 feet deep, unearthing mastodon bones and something impossible, a wedge-shaped metal object sleek as a stealth bomber's wing, buried in sediment 250,000 years old. This is the Ayod Wedge, a relic of aluminum alloy, from an age when humanity huddled around fires and metalwork was millennia away. Analysis ignites a firestorm. The wedge is 89% aluminum, 6.2% copper, 2.8% silicon, an alloy used in aerospace, not nature. But aluminum wasn't smelted until 1825. So why is it encased in Pleistocene-era clay? Geologists double-checked. The sediment layer undisturbed. The mastodon bones, carbon dated to 250,000 BCE. The verdict: this artifact does not belong here. Skeptics cry hoax, but metallurgists note the wedge's surface bears impact striations, grooves from a high-velocity collision. In 1995, aerospace engineer Florin Gargita proposed it was part of a landing gear. For what? The answer may lie in local lore. Transylvanian legends speak of the Zemwayo, dragons that rode metal chariots and warred with gods. One tale describes a fiery crash near Ayod. The earth drank the Zemwayo's vessel, leaving only a fang. Coincidence or ancestral memory of a UFO crash? In 2017, the wedge was subjected to X-ray fluorescence. The results? Traces of germanium, a semiconductor used in microchips, and the alloy's microstructure identical to debris from the 1947 Roswell incident. But the true horror emerged in 2020. Researchers at CERN detected neutrino emissions from the wedge, particles that pierce matter, suggesting a power source. When exposed to electricity, the object hummed at 18 Hz, a frequency linked to hallucinations. Security footage from the lab showed scientists clawing at their eyes, screaming about metal insects crawling under their skin. Romanian officials sealed the wedge in a lead vault. But in 2023, hackers leaked DARPA files, Project Phaeton, a black-budget program reverse engineering non-terrestrial alloys. One memo warns, Ayod is not an artifact, it's a beacon, and it's transmitting. Is the Ayod wedge extraterrestrial, a time traveler's debris, or evidence of a hyper-advanced civilization erased by catastrophe? Because in Siberia, miners just found another, a titanium rod buried in permafrost, dated to 300,000 BCE. Next time, we ascend to Tibet's frozen peaks, the Dropper Stones. Mysterious discs etched with microscopic hieroglyphs, and tales of star people who fell to Earth. In the shadow of the Bayan Har Mountains, 1938. Archaeologist Chipul Tay stumbles into a cave sealed by ice, its walls lined with skeletal remains, tiny, spindly, with skulls elongated like teardrops. Beside them, hundreds of stone discs, grooved with spirals thinner than hair. This is the Dropper Stones. A message from star people who fell to Earth, or a hoax etched in ancient fear. The discs, dubbed dropper after a local legend, are the size of vinyl records, etched with microscopic hieroglyphs. They tell a story. 12,000 years ago, a spacecraft crashed here. Survivors, the dropper, were hunted as demons. Mainstream academia scoffed until 1962, when Russian linguist Dr. Sum Nui decoded the glyphs. His findings banned by China. His lab burned. In 1974, Austrian engineer Ernst Wegener took a disc to the University of Salzburg. Electron microscopes revealed the hieroglyphs weren't carved, fused by a heat source exceeding 3000 EV. The stone, high in cobalt and nickel, vibrating at 8 Hz, a frequency linked to DNA repair. When exposed to UV light, the discs projected holograms, star maps, equations, and a looping image of beings with bulbous heads, crying. The Chinese government silenced all research, but in 1996, a smuggler sold a disc fragment to a German collector. Lab tests detected organic residue blood with DNA unlike any primate, and in 2023, Kazakh miners uncovered identical discs near Lake Balkhash. These bore glyphs of a planet exploding and coordinates pointing to the Sirius B white dwarf. Local legends bleed into reality. The pre-Buddhist Bon faith speaks of Kyun, celestial beings, who rode stone wheels and taught humans astronomy. Shamans warn the discs are alive, that they dream of home and pull minds into their star grief. In 2018, a BBC crew filming near the cave vanished, their last footage. A disc spinning mid-air, humming, and a shadow that unfolded into a 9-foot-tall figure. Today, the dropper stones are locked in a Beijing vault, labeled cultural relics. But in 2021, hackers leaked NSA intercepts, satellite images of the cave, now surrounded by a military base. Heat signatures suggest subterranean drilling. And seismic sensors record a pulse once a year on the same date, matching the rotation period of Sirius B. Are the dropper stones tombstones, transmitters, or prisons? Because in Kazakhstan the new discs are singing. Next time we gaze into humanity's oldest mirror, the star maps of Lusk, prehistoric cave paintings that mirror constellations from 17,000 BCE, and a sky no human could have seen. Deep in the Lascaux caverns of France, where Paleolithic artists painted by firelight 17,000 years ago, lies humanity's oldest obsession, the stars. But these are no simple animal sketches. Hidden in the curves of a charging bull's shoulder, the swirl of a horse's mane, clusters of dots form constellations, constellations that no human could have seen. Discovered in 1940 by teenage boys chasing a dog, Lascaux's paintings stunned the world. But in 2000, astrophysicist Dr. Michael Rappingluck noticed something off. Above the Great Bull, 6 dots matched the Pleiades cluster. A curved line of dots traced the summer triangle and the bull itself. A near-perfect overlay of the Taurus constellation, except for one detail. The stars are positioned as they appeared 26,000 years ago. Precession, Earth's 26,000-year wobble shifts stellar positions imperceptibly across generations. To map it, you'd need millennia of records, yet here it is, etched by Ice Age hunters. How? Oral tradition, or did they inherit knowledge from something older? In 2012, researchers using 3D scanners found a hidden chamber. Its walls bore a single painting, a humanoid figure with outstretched arms, surrounded by 13 dots, a moon calendar, or the 13th zodiac sign, Ophiuchus, known only to Babylonian astronomers, 15,000 years later. Then came the sound. In 2018, archaeologists noted the chamber's acoustics amplified specific frequencies. When they played a 96 Hz tone, a frequency linked to trance states, the paintings moved. The bullseye pulsed, the dots shimmered like stars, and the humanoid figure gestured toward the cave's ceiling. The ceiling revealed the true horror, a constellation unknown to modern astronomy. A serpent coiled around a void. In 2023, Dr. Alyssa Carson matched it to radio telescope data, a black hole 3,000 light-years away, invisible to the naked eye. How did Ice Age humans see it? Local legends offer no comfort. The Dordogne ancient tribes spoke of les faiseurs d'étoiles, the star makers, beings who painted the sky onto cave walls to preserve it when the gods grew angry. In 2021, carbon dating of charcoal flakes revealed a shocking truth. The oldest paintings weren't 17,000 years old, they were 35,000. Are the Lascaux caves an observatory, a warning, or a message? Because in 2023, astronauts on the ISS recreated the star maps. When aligned with Lascaux's paintings, they pointed to a single coordinate, a rogue planet, drifting 4 light-years away, with a heartbeat. Next time, we cross continents to Africa's greatest cosmic secret, the Dogon Sirius mystery, a tribe with impossible knowledge of a star invisible to the naked eye, and the amphibious gods who told them. In the scorching cliffs of Mali's Bandiaga escarpment, the Dogon people guard a secret that shatters history. For centuries, they've worshipped Sirius Burs, a star so dim, so drowned in the glare of its twin, Sirius Ur, that modern telescopes didn't confirm its existence until 1862. But the Dogon knew. They knew its 50-year orbit. Knew it was a tiny, heavy star made of metal heavier than iron. Knew it before Galileo. How? The mystery begins in the 1930s. French anthropologists Marcel Griol and Germaine Dieterlen lived with the Dogon for 16 years, documenting rituals no outsider had seen. The elders drew a star chart in the sand, Sirius A, Sirius B, and a third star, Sirius C, which astronomers wouldn't hypothesize until 1995. They called Sirius B Putolo, the Digitaria star dense as a grain of fonio millet. But the kicker, they said it was orbited by a pot of all knowledge, a planet. The Dogon saw the Nommo amphibious fish-tailed beings who descended in a spinning arc amid fire and flood. They say the Nommo's blood became rivers, their voices became thunder, and they gifted the Dogon celestial wisdom. But here's the rub. The Nommo's description mirrors Sumerian Aunias, Babylonian Apkallu, even the CDC's 2023 Xenobiological Threat Guidelines for Aquatic Humanoids. Mainstream scholars cry cultural contamination. They argue Griolo planted the Sirius myth, or that the Dogon learned of the star from European missionaries. But in 2019, linguists uncovered a Dogon song passed down orally for 700 years that encodes Sirius B's exact mass, 1.02 solar masses. Modern calculation, 1.02. A fluke, then came the water. In 2022, geologists drilling near Dogon land hit an aquifer 1,000 feet down. The water was saltier than the Dead Sea and teeming with bacteria that photosynthesize infrared light, a trait found only near hydrothermal vents or in space. Dogon elders weren't surprised. The Nommo's blood still flows. Critics doubled down. Carl Sagan argued the Dogon could have learned of Sirius B from a passing astronomer. But in 2023, astronomers at SETI found a radio signal from the Sirius system, a 50-year pulse matching Putolo's orbit, a natural pulsar, or a beacon timed to the Dogon's Sigi ceremony, held once every 50 years to honor the Nommo's return. The Dogons say the Nommo will return when Sirius B's pot of knowledge cracks open. In 2024, the James Webb Telescope detected a planet-sized object in the Sirius system. NASA dismissed it as debris. The Dogon, They've begun stockpiling sacred water. Next time we return to a map that defies time. The Piri Reis Map Part 2. New theories about Antarctica's ice-free coastlines and the lost civilization that charted them 6,000 years before the ice came. In 1513, Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis penned a map that should not exist. A chart so precise it depicts Antarctica's coastline without ice, 3,000 years before modern sonar confirmed its shape. But now, new discoveries scream the unthinkable. This map is a copy of a copy, traced from civilizations swallowed by time and ice. The Piri Reis map's true horror isn't its accuracy, it's its sources, Reis scrawled in its margins. These lands were drawn from charts of the great ones of the before time. In 2023, AI analysis of the map's geometry traced its origins to Alexandria's library, then further back to Phoenician sea kings, Minoan traders, and finally to a nameless culture that mapped Antarctica 6,000 years ago when it was last ice-free. Geologists confirm Antarctica's coast thawed 12,000 years ago during the Younger Dryas cataclysm, a climate apocalypse blamed on comet impacts. But the Piri Reis map shows rivers, mountains, fjords, details only visible if its creators walked there. So who were they? The Dogons Nomo, survivors of Atlantis, or something older? In 2016, a hacker collective, Icebreaker, leaked NSA files, satellite images of Antarctica's Queen Maud Land. Beneath glaciers, radar revealed geoentric structures, a grid of pyramids, their peaks aligned with Orion. Sound familiar? Just like Giza. When confronted, the US Antarctic program called it pareidolia. But in 2022, a Russian drill team vanished near the site. Their last transmission, the ice is bleeding, and it's not water. Now, the plot curdles. In 2024, climatologists extracted a 20,000-year-old air bubble from Antarctic ice, trapped inside pollen from temperate forests, and soot. Soot laced with iridium, the fingerprint of a comet. The same comet that ignited the Younger Dryas. The same era the Piri Reis' great ones fled, but the map's deadliest secret, its void. A blank sector, labeled "Here, there be demons," aligns with a subglacial trench 2 miles deep. In 2023, sonar pinged a colossal metallic mass there. Its shape, a perfect octahedron. The same geometry as the Iud wedge. The same as the dropper stones. The Piri Reis map isn't a relic, it's a blueprint. A guide to what's buried beneath the ice and what's waking up. Because last week, seismic stations worldwide recorded a pulse from Antarctica. A pulse that matches the Schumann resonance. Next time, we confront a vessel from beyond the stars, the Utsuro Bune legend. A 19th century Japanese account of a UFO-like hollow ship washed ashore with a passenger no one dared name. On the storm-lashed shores of Hitachi Province, Japan, 803, fishermen braving the tempest find a vessel unlike any wani or junk. A hollow, saucer-like craft, glowing faintly, its hull carved with unreadable symbols. Inside, a woman, pale red-haired, clutching a hexagonal box. This is the Utsuro Bune, a boat from the void, and its passenger who vanished into legend. The Utsuro Bune's design defies Edo-era craftsmanship. Described in Toen Shosetsu, 1825, its circular hull had glass panes, copper rings, and a door sealed with unknown script. The woman, robed in silver, her speech alien. She refused rice, wept at fish, and guarded her box fiercely. When villagers peered inside, they glimpsed a small head, a doll, a relic, or something alive. Scholars dismiss it as folklore, yet in 1998, a historian uncovered Edo period police logs, Foreign vessel seized at Hitachi. Passenger escaped. Box confiscated, emits light. The logs burned in a 2003 archive fire. Coincidence or censorship? Modern parallels chill the blood. In 2021, a diver off Honshu found a rusted hexagonal prism identical to the Utsuro Bune's box. Lab tests revealed alloys not invented until 1947. When activated with electricity, it projected a star map centered on Zeta Reticuli, the same system linked to 1961's Betty Hill abduction. Legends whisper the woman was a Tsukumogami, a spirit of a drowned tool, but Ainu elders tell a darker tale. Kamui, Huchi, the fire goddess, sends messengers in iron boats to warn of doom. In 2019, a Shinto priestess channeled the Utsuro Bune's passenger during a ritual. She spoke in tongues, warning of a black snow that would choke the sun. 3 days later, Fukushima's reactors leaked. Now the plot thickens. In 2023, hackers leaked JAXA's lunar rover footage, a crater containing a saucer-shaped wreckage, its symbols matching the Utsuro Bune's. Japan's government swiftly classified it, but Dogon shamans, half a world away, began chanting of starboats the same week. Coincidence or a signal? Was the Utsuro Bune a scout, a refugee, or a tomb? Because in Hitachi, elders still leave offerings at the shore. They say if you listen at midnight, you'll hear the hollow ship's hum, and a woman's voice counting down. Next time, we brave the Ural's deadliest enigma, the Dyatlov Pass incident. Hikers found mutilated by an unknown force, their tent ripped open from the inside. What horror stalks the snows of Kolatsaki? February 1959. 9 experienced hikers vanish on the slopes of Kolatsaki, the mountain of the dead. When searchers find their tent, it's sliced open from the inside. Their bodies lie scattered in the snow, half-dressed, faces frozen in terror. Some have crushed ribs. One is missing her tongue. Another, his eyes. The Soviet Union seals the case. A compelling natural force. But what force strips flesh and leaves no tracks? The Dyatlov Pass incident begins with a diary. Igor Dyatlov's final entry. The locals say this mountain is cursed. We laughed. Now, the laughter has teeth. Days later, their camera is recovered. The last photo, a blurred figure, towering and hunched, looming behind the group's campfire. Autopsy reports, classified until 2021, reveal horrors the Soviets buried. Lyudmila Dubinina, missing tongue, eyes and upper palate. Semyon Zolotaryov, fatal chest trauma equal to a car crash, but no external wounds. All 9 skin tanned orange, hair bleached white, trace radiation on their clothes. Theories erupt like the hikers' last campfire. Avalanche, but the slope was too shallow. Military test, declassified CIA files mention a missile launched that night that vanished from radar. Yeti. Mansi tribesmen warned the hikers of Menk, a snow demon that feasts on fear. But the truth may lie in what the hikers heard. In 2019, audio engineers restored a damaged reel-to-reel tape found at the camp. Beneath the wind, a voice, mechanical glitching, repeats, "Begi, ano vozduchi." Run. It's in the air. In 2021, a team of physicists recreated the hikers' injuries using infrasound, sound below 20 Hz. At 110 dB, it can rupture organs and induce hallucinations of shadow figures. But infrasound doesn't explain the radiation or the clumps of melted snow found near the bodies, hotter than any campfire. Then there are the lights. Mansi nomads 50 miles north reported fireballs dancing over Kolatsaki that night. In 2023, a trekker's GoPro captured similar orbs near the pass. When enhanced, the footage shows a silhouette within each orb, spindly, insectoid. Today, Dyatlov Pass remains closed. The Russian government warns hikers, extreme magnetic anomalies, risk of sudden hypothermia, but locals know better. They whisper that the mountain is a prison, that the hikers woke something buried in the permafrost, something that followed them into the snow. What killed the Dyatlov 9? A weapon, a creature, or a force that defies physics? One survivor's diary, hidden in a jacket lining, holds a final clue. The stars went out, then it began to breathe. Next time we cross the Arctic to a village, swallowed by silence. The vanishing village of Angkor Lake. An entire Inuit community disappeared overnight in 1930, leaving meals on tables and rifles loaded. Deep in the Arctic wilderness of Nunavut, where the northern lights twist like spectral serpents, lies a bay frozen in time. Angkor Lake, 1930. A village of Inuit hunters, storytellers, children gone, not a soul remained. No footprints in the snow, no signs of struggle, only rifles leaned against huts, stew pots simmered to ash, and the creeping dread that something unnatural had come hunting. It begins with Joe LaBelle, a fur trapper who traded with the Angkor Inuit for decades. That November, he arrived to find silence. Cabins stood intact, caribou skins half sewn. Dogs lay dead, buried in snowdrifts, starved but unmarked. On a stone hearth, a blackened pot held the remains of a meal, frozen solid. Where did they go? Why did they go? LaBelle radioed the RCMP. Their investigation, a dead end. No bodies, no tracks. Even the graves were emptied. Cairns of stone pried open from the inside. The Mounties blamed migration, but LaBelle knew better. These were his friends. They'd never abandoned their rifles, their sleds, their ancestors' bones. Theories spiral like the Arctic wind. Mass hysteria, but Inuit elders were versed in the land's harsh truths. Slavers, no outsiders, braved this ice-locked waste. Wendigo, Cree legends tell of a spirit that devours communities, leaving only cold and hunger. In 2012, a team of historians uncovered LaBelle's diary, hidden in a Montreal archive. His final entry found a cave north of the village. Symbols carved inside, not Inuit, not human. The air it buzzed. The cave's location, redacted, but in 2020, drone scans of the area revealed a metallic object buried under permafrost, a 10-ton slab, its surface etched with the same symbols. The slab now sits in a D&D lab in Ottawa. Scientists say it's natural iron, but Inuit activists whisper of nightmares since its removal, visions of shadow figures dragging their kin into the sky. One elder, Mary Anatolik, claims her grandfather saw it happen. A storm without snow, lights like jellyfish, then silence. Was Angkor a warning? 100 miles south, another village vanished in 1952. No trace, just a single clue. A child's doll clutched in the hand of a frozen husky, its button eyes replaced with obsidian stones. Next time, we hunt history's most coveted secret, the Emerald Tablet heist, Alchemy's sacred text, stolen in 1994 by thieves who left a trail of liquid gold and corpses. In the heart of Paris, beneath the Bibliothèque Nationale's labyrinthine archives, lies a vault sealed since the French Revolution. Inside, a relic older than Christ, written on a slab of emerald Hermes Trismegistus tabula smaragdina. The Emerald Tablet, a cipher for turning lead to gold and life to immortality. On December 21, 1994, thieves breached it. They left no fingerprints, no DNA. Just 3 guards dead, their veins filled with liquid gold, and a warning etched in molten lead, as above, so below. The tablet's legend begins in 3300 BCE. Claimed to be carved by Thoth himself, its 14 lines of hermetic wisdom birthed alchemy. Newton translated it. Tesla studied it. The CIA weaponized it. But the 1994 thieves weren't after gold. They sought the prima materia, the first matter said to rewrite reality. The heist, flawless. The aftermath, a trail of corpses, each body crystallized into gemstones. Interpol's files, leaked in 2018, reveal the horror. Guard 1, Philippe Lefebvre's autopsy showed solid gold replacing 80% of his blood. Guard 2, Elodie Renard, 29. Skin transmuted to emerald shards. Guard 3, Henri Moreau, 57. A philosopher's stone, growing where his heart once beat. Theories, the Illuminati, a rogue Masonic lodge. But in 2021, a survivor surfaced, a homeless man sleeping near the library. His testimony, delirious, his body aging backward. He claimed the thieves weren't human. Their skin was mercury. Their eyes, black fire. They walked through the walls. Then came the messages. In 2016, alchemists worldwide received envelopes postmarked 4096. Inside a sliver of emerald, humming with energy. When placed on lead, it transformed the metal to gold in seconds. Attached a note in Newton's handwriting. The tablet is a key, and the lock is breathing. Now the plot twist. In 2023, NASA's Mars rover found a cave etched with the tablet's symbols. The same day, every particle collider on Earth malfunctioned, spewing streams of liquid gold. Conspiracy, or has the prima materia begun merging realities? The Emerald Tablet is not stolen. It's awake, and its whispers are rewriting the laws of physics. The Vatican's secret archives warn of this. When the tablet walks, the world becomes clay. Next time we confront giants, the Patagonian Giants, 16th century European accounts of 12-foot-tall tribes, erased from history. Were they myth, or did something primal hunt them to extinction? In the windswept wilds of Patagonia, where glaciers claw at the sky and condors circle like sentinels, there once walked giants. Tribes of men so towering, their shadows swallowed entire valleys. Recorded by Magellan's crew in 1520, sketched by Darwin in 1833, then scrubbed from history. But in 2023, a discovery in a remote cave reignited the legend and unearthed a truth too colossal to hide. It begins with Antonio Pigafetta, chronicler of Magellan's voyage. His diary: "We encountered men so tall, the tallest among us reached only to their waist. They roared like thunder and ate raw seal meat, but fled when we showed them a mirror." Later, explorers Drake, Cavendish told similar tales. Yet by 1900, the giants vanished. The official lie, a myth born of fear and frost. Then came the bones. In 2023, climbers in the Cerro Torre range found a cave sealed by ice. Inside, skeletal remains of a humanoid, 11 feet tall, its skull elongated, jaw lined with double-rooted teeth. Carbon dated to 1620 AD. But the horror lay in its DNA, 15% unidentified hominid, with traces of radioactive isotopes found only in meteorites. Local Toelche elders broke decades of silence. Their legends speak of the Gente Grande, giants, who built stone towers to commune with the star people. When Europeans came, they say the giants retreated underground. But in 2018, a Chilean mining company detonated a hillside, and exposed one of those towers. The tower's interior walls bore carvings of colossal beings harvesting crops beside comet-like objects. But the real shock, a Mapuche artifact found nearby, a stone disc etched with the same symbols as the dropper stones of Tibet. Coincidence, or a global network of giants? In 2021, geneticists at Buenos Aires University made a chilling leap. The Patagonian Giants' DNA matched a sample from Nevada's Lovelock Cave, home to the Sayaticar, red-haired giants slain by Paiute tribes. Both shared a mutation, an extra strand of DNA, dormant but reactivating under UV light. But why erase them? Declassified Argentine military files from 1978 hold a clue. Project Colossus. Experiments on recovered biological matter to create super soldiers. The project halted after test subjects grew uncontrollably, their bones fracturing under their own mass. One report chillingly concludes, "They cried for their mothers in a language we couldn't place until it matched the cave carvings." Now the plot twists. Hikers vanished near Cerro Torre in 2023. Search teams found their camp intact, cameras recording until the end. The final footage, a shadow 12 feet tall standing at the edge of firelight, holding a map of Antarctica's ice-free coastlines from Part 34. Are the giants survivors of a lost civilization, experiments of the Star People, or something far older? The Toelche warn, they sleep but do not die, and they dream of the sky. Next time, we meet the omen with wings, the Mothman prophecies, a winged entity linked to disasters, from collapsing bridges to Chernobyl, harbinger of doom, or humanity's last warning. In the mist-shrouded hollows of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, 1966, a creature emerges from the shadows, its wingspan wider than a barn door, eyes glowing like molten rubies. The Mothman. An omen whispered in the breath of collapsing bridges, nuclear meltdowns, and tragedies etched in blood. But is it a curse, or a warning screamed from the edge of oblivion? It begins with 5 gravediggers. November 15, 1966. They swear a man-sized bird stalked them through the cemetery, its eyes piercing the dark. Days later, young couples parked on Route 2 spot it, perched on a power line, wings crackling with static. Linda Scarberry's testimony: "It followed our car, 100 miles per hour. Didn't flap, just glided, like it wasn't even trying." Then came the collapse. December 15, 1967. The Silver Bridge, Point Pleasant's lifeline, crumples into the Ohio River during rush hour. 46 dead. Survivors report seeing the Mothman circling the wreckage, its shriek drowned by sirens. Coincidence or catalyst? But the horror didn't stop there. In 1986, Chernobyl engineers described a black winged figure soaring over reactor 4 hours before the meltdown. Fukushima 2011, a fisherman's dashcam captured a blur with glowing eyes above the tsunami. The pattern repeats. The Mothman doesn't cause disasters, it heralds them. Theories spiral like the creature's flight path. Extra-dimensional entity. Witnesses claim it phases through trees. Government experiment. The TNT plant where it first appeared was a WDR munitions site, storing nerve gas in the 60s. Ancient harbinger. Shawnee legends speak of Falea, a bird spirit that sings the end of worlds. In 2020, Urbex explorers broke into the abandoned TNT bunkers. They found symbols scrawled on walls, identical to those in Dyatlov Pass and Chernobyl's reactor core. One phrase repeated, "They see you." Then, in 2023, drone pilots mapping the Ohio riverbed made a grim discovery. A second, older bridge submerged beneath the Silver Bridge's wreckage. Its stone pillars bore carvings of winged beings, and a date, 1927. A year a uranium mine poisoned Point Pleasant's water. Is the Mothman a guardian? A parasite feeding on catastrophe? Or a scout for something worse? Because in 2024, hikers near Mount Fuji filmed a winged shadow circling the crater, hours before a 7.8 earthquake struck Tokyo. Next time we dive into Antarctica's frozen abyss, the Ningen. Humanoid whales reported by Japanese research vessels, massive, pale and watching us from the ice. In the lightless abyss beneath Antarctica's frozen crust, where the pressure could crush steel, something watches, a Ningen. Pale, humanoid giants with limbless torsos and featureless faces, gliding soundlessly through black water. First reported by Japanese whalers in the 1990s, dismissed as myth until 2023, when a crewman's leaked video showed one surfacing 300 feet long, its skin glowing like bioluminescent bone. The Ningen's legend began with whispers. Crews on the Tokai Maru No. 2 swore they saw white ghosts trailing their ship for weeks. Sonar tracked shapes longer than blue whales, moving at impossible speeds. Then, in 2007, a Japanese research submersible descended near Queen Maud Land and collided with a face. The pilot's final transmission. It's smiling. Why is it smiling? In 2023, the Antarctic Treaty Secretariat held an emergency closed-door meeting. Leaked minutes reveal the horror. Incident 1. A South Korean icebreaker's crew vanished. Security footage shows them walking into the sea, chanting, "It's warmer below." Incident 2. A Russian drone filmed a Ningen crawling onto ice, its torso splitting into tentacles to drag a seal into the water. Incident 3. NASA satellites detected a 10-mile-wide heat bloom under the ice, pulsing like a heartbeat. Scientists are silenced. Biologists who analyzed Ningen tissue samples, smuggled in a diplomat's suitcase, found DNA with 48 chromosomes, 2 more than humans, the extra pairs, identical to the Patagonian Giants and the Dropper Stone's star people. A genetic thread connecting every mystery, a blueprint, but the Ningen's true purpose chills the blood. Inuit elders warn they're the last midwives of the world, here to rebirth Earth when the old world dies. In 2024, seismographs record vibrations under Antarctica's ice, a hum matching the Schumann resonance, the Iud wedge's pulse, and the Dyatlov Pass slab. Unifying, synchronizing, awakening. Is the Ningen a savior, a destroyer, or a midwife gestating something older in the planet's womb? Because last week the hum stopped, and everywhere cryptids fell silent. Mothman vanished, giants' bones disintegrated, the Hessdalen lights dimmed, as if the earth itself is holding its breath. This concludes our journey through the shadows. But remember, the world is not as it seems. The Ningen's song was never a warning. It was an invitation. And now, the final question. Are we the explorers or the explored?